everyone, and welcome back to episode 3 of Sorta My Podcast. My name is Vincent Herman, Vin the Human, and sitting to the right of my right,
Mr. Bob Collins, also known as Boba Fett, and directly in front of me,
Alpha Spectre, James Odle.
and we've got a new friend joining us today on this podcast. She is already on the Sorta My Comics page, and you may know her as
Shellraiser. What's up, everyone?
You may have heard her in our last episode as our fact checker in the background.
She got an upgrade. Unfortunately, Marnie will not be joining us as a regular cast member. Due to her busy schedule, we all felt like it would work best if she was just a indefinite guest. She's always welcome to come on. Anytime she randomly says, hey, can I do this episode? She is here.
She's still part of the Sorta My brand, Sorta My Podcast family.
Yeah.
But it's more of like the neighbor on an old sitcom.
Yeah.
Used to pop in every few episodes.
She's
say
Wilson.
hi. Yeah, she's Wilson.
She's
Exactly.
Wilson.
She's Wilson.
Pops her face over the fence.
Yeah.
What's up? Half her
Howdy-ho,
face,
neighbor.
anyways.
We just never see her anything more than this.
That would be
But yeah, she is always welcome to come on here and do this little thing with us. But let's go ahead and jump from cast members straight into the meat and bits of like what everyone's talking about right now, and that is the petition for Bucky and Cap to be in a gay romance together.
a gay romance.
Okay, so I honestly have no idea where this is coming from. Like, I don't know what sparked this.
It started off
feel
on
like
Twitter.
I don't say. I feel like it started from like memes
It
because
started
there's a lot
off
of
on Twitter, and all the
Twitter,
progressive
probably
Twitter
DeviantArt.
followers thought that because it was going to happen, or they felt like it was going to happen anyways, that they might as well just like ship, Captain America and Bucky. And a lot of people are mad about it because what they're saying is, if he's not already a homosexual character, don't make him one.
Well,
Not just that, but they already have homosexual characters
Yeah.
that they have. Maybe they should introduce those instead of just trying to make everything.
well, and here's the other thing. Cap is from the 40s. In the 40s...
That doesn't necessarily...
They hit it better in the
Right,
40s.
but
That's about it.
Cap is from the 40s. He's our boy in blue. Like, all this and that. Like, had some of the better romances of our time if you read some of his stories. Like, him and Peggy, and then
like,
him
two?
and Sharon.
Yeah.
He's like the apple
two
pie
romances?
of like what like.
Well, here's this is the reason I have a big problem with it, and I'm gonna say this is a big problem because I hate that people do this to these characters. Captain America is solid. This is Captain America. This was what he's going to be. And even though a recent comic shift is changing that a little bit, does not mean you have to completely reconstruct the character. I get it. He's gone the way of Superman. He's getting a little stale. He's getting a little old. Nobody really reads those type of stories anymore, which is a damn shame because I still love them. But that does not hide the fact that Captain America, Steve Rogers, is Steve Rogers. You don't change Captain America. That'd be like making Superman gay.
Yeah.
And that's just not
It'd be
going
like
to
making
happen.
Alan Scott gay.
Well, and even
There's nothing
with
wrong
what he
with.
went through.
There's nothing wrong with homosexual. I do feel like they should have more progressive. Like they should
I'm
have
alright
that,
if they want,
but not change like what's already.
Yeah. I'm alright if
Superman's
they
been
want
Superman for years,
a
but-
gay Captain America. Or, honestly, if they wanted to change Bucky's thing, or, like, if he went down that road, that'd be fine, too, because there's easier ways to explain it. But Captain America is just way too out of nowhere. Like, that would just be the most random thing
And
ever.
I feel like a lot of people want that because of what Captain America stands for, in regards to what is going on
Well,
in
he can
our
still
actual
stand
like,
on the
he
side
is
of the
America's symbol. He's the symbol of America.
why do you have to be
So if
gay
he was gay,
to
it'd be
stand
that,
up for gay rights?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly, and I think those are just people that
they're looking for something to
like, I have
back
nothing,
them up.
obviously, there's
or-
nothing wrong with having homosexual superheroes.
Yeah.
I think it's great,
There are several.
but
Oh,
you could create. I mean,
And
There's a gay
Yeah,
Green Lantern.
there's
Yeah,
ones
Alan
that are
Scott.
already
Yeah,
there's ones that are already like
The-
you should be petitioning for them to be in movies and them to be in stuff instead of trying to change every single superhero that's already like.
And that's another thing. I don't want like Marvel's cinematic universe is on such a good track, and they're following the books like as closely as they can. that if they were to introduce a gay character in the Marvel universe, like, and make them poignant, it would just be, again, too out of nowhere. Like, they're on a specific track that does not hinder.
There's no way to explain it.
That does not cater to that storyline.
And why can't
I want to see a Sam and Bucky romance. That way we can get them bickering back and forth.
Sam, that's a bromance buddy comedy.
Yeah.
So
my views on this. Personally, honestly, they're comic books. In a couple years, it's going to change again. They're going to rehash everything. They're going to reboot everything. Everything's going to change. So personally, I don't ever get too wound up over things like this. Like my favorite character. It sounds generic nowadays, but my favorite character of all time has always been Batman. Of course, there's been a lot of homosexual references and such here and there throughout its time. But if they came flat out and was like, yes, Batman is a homosexual. Bruce Wayne, the Bruce Wayne we've all known and loved from day one, comes out as a homosexual, I'll be like, he's still badass. Like, look at, I'm still yet to read it, and our friend Seth always recommends it. But Midnighter. Yeah. Midnighter is apparently a ruthless, badass character in this new series.
I need to read
homosexual.
At first, I was like, "Oh, the big thing."
And another big thing to me is like,
I've heard
why, unless like romances actually play a part in certain storylines, what does it matter?
It shouldn't matter
who they're having sex with. Like,
well, there's in the Young Avengers, you have Wiccan, which is the child of Scarlet Witch, and Hulkling, which is a young Skrull / human hybrid baby.
Homosexual.
But they are a gay couple in the Young Avengers. They are an openly gay couple with each other, and it doesn't drag the story down. It doesn't lift the story up. It's a part of their story, and it works for them and the Young Avengers stories.
I agree with what does it matter if it doesn't affect the story? Yeah. But at the same time, there are characters, like I said, Captain America is just one of those characters that you don't make.
I mean, I totally see both sides.
Because you'd have to make it a big deal.
Absolutely.
And it would have to distract from whatever's going on.
Like I was just saying, like even if DC did the same thing with Batman or Superman, I mean, it would be a big deal. Everybody would either love it, hate it, or at least just everybody would be talking about it. It would be
one of those things that would get eventually they'd have to make such a big deal out of it to change Captain America into a homosexual.
Yeah.
They'd have to. They'd have to dedicate like a chunk of story to it. And with the stuff that's going on right now, that would just be out of nowhere, distracting and shit. And then it's just going to fall into the background because Captain America does not focus on relationships that much.
No, he doesn't.
Like, he is always off saving the fucking world from something. That's why Captain America #1, I was surprised to see the little Ice-T scene.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, okay. We'll take a break for this.
The thing is, like, some of these heroes, like you mentioned Batman, Captain America, like, if they were to take any of these heroes and be like, oh, they're gay now. These characters have been around for decades.
For 70 plus years.
I was going to say, there are several that have been around for the better part of a century. Going and messing with these characters that have been set up and established, and this is who they are for this long, and then all of a sudden make a change like, okay, they're gay, or some of them, okay, now this is a black hero, or this, or whatever. Like, a lot of people got up in arms about Jane Foster being Thor. They got like when Marvel did,
and I hated that because so many of those people had not read that book, and it was so good.
But that's what you'll get is you'll get people who aren't going to read the stories anymore because of what happened.
But they
even if the stories are great.
Well, it goes right back to, like we were saying, Alan Scott, the Green Lantern. Mm-hmm. Whenever they came out that he was going to be a homosexual, people that was, I've been reading since I was, I've been reading since the 60s. I mean, I grew up on Alan Scott. Like, how dare you? Got pissed off. Like, I'm never reading DC Comics.
Oh, they read it.
Yeah. But if you were to read the Earth 2 story from New 52, it was probably one of the best titles they had. I only read the first almost story arc of it, and it was the art in it was great. Like, and it wasn't like he wasn't extremely flamboyant. They barely touched on it. Actually, it was just a mention. It wasn't. They didn't make a big deal about it. Like, hell, in Bombshells, you've read Have you read any of Bombshells?
I read Bombshells.
I read the first 2 issues, but right in the first issue, of course, we all know that Batwoman is a lesbian.
Yeah.
But right off the bat, they made it very blatant that she was making out with her girlfriend and stuff. It was just like, you don't even necessarily need that. Just to mention, like they did in Earth 2, that Alan Scott has a boyfriend.
Well,
and
before the New 52, like towards the end of the Detective Comics run, when they were focusing on Batwoman, that was one of her key story arcs because they wanted to show that she was having trouble keeping relationships going, and she's gay. So right there from the beginning, they're painting on that, she's breaking up with this chick right now because it's not working out. And then she starts dating this cop, which also brings other elements into her life because she's Batwoman. She's secretly Batwoman. Now she's dating a cop. It's a whole thing. But yeah, it was one of those things that it played into the story really well for her.
Well,
So
go ahead.
if there's so many characters like this that are homosexual, then why the sudden urge, like the sudden urge for another one?
Because honestly,
that's the thing. These characters have been put in the spotlight, and they've either been rejected or just overlooked.
Exactly.
And
so I think now
it's the comic reader fans' fault.
They're like, well, now we're going to use these characters that we know everybody loves. We're going to take the chance and try to do like, maybe we can try this. But
Flash and Arrow
still, we're never going to be happy as comic book fans, no matter what.
Exactly. I mean, that's true.
In Flash, the police chief is gay, has a husband, open about it, all that. In Arrow,
I didn't know that. When did that happen?
That's since day one.
Yeah.
In Arrow, Sarah Lance, White Canary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She's
beautiful.
Legends of Tomorrow. And
then Curtis, the Felicity's new assistant, is gay, has a husband and all that.
Mr. Terrific, right?
Yeah, he's gonna be Mr. He should be Mr. Terrific.
And they've already had some of his gadgets and stuff.
And they've dropped a couple of. They've called him Terrific a couple of times. Yeah. So it was cool.
Aww.
But you get some nods like that towards the gay community and all that.
Yeah, just more and CW shows in general. Even though sometimes whenever companies do this, whether it's with shows, books, comics, movies, whatever it is, it seems like they're just shoehorning in to be like, hey, let's try to please everybody. But everything usually fits so well in the CW shows.
They do it. They
do Wally West.
Yeah, they do it really good. Yeah.
I know we didn't go over this in the meeting, and I'm just now remembering it because I never wrote it down as a topic. But since we're talking about CW shows,
winging it.
And Chelsea, I want to go ahead and get on this real quick because I heard that Tom Welling has agreed to do one appearance as Superman, not Smallville related. Right? Yeah.
No,
oh my God,
I'm freaking out because later we're gonna be talking about the Flash and the finale, and Ben's actually gonna have to step out of the room because he's the only one that hasn't watched it. But there's something that happens in it that would make so much sense. It doesn't. But my theory.
It could.
Oh my God.
It could. Okay, all right. We'll leave it at that because I'm getting caught up tomorrow. I'm finally getting caught up on the CW verse tomorrow.
Okay, well maybe next episode we can touch on just a bit.
Yeah. Because I'll be finally.
Most of the show should have finished up by then.
But yeah, I heard Tom Welling is supposed to be doing just the one appearance. Like he's one and done.
Supergirl or in
it didn't say.
In the
but
in
I'd
the
assume,
CW verse. Probably.
Well, there is a big 4-show crossover coming in on CW with Legends, Arrow, Supergirl, and Flash. So it might happen.
Well, that's the headline because I've heard him address the possibility, and that was always. Well, he's open to the idea, but he doesn't really know to what capacity, and they haven't asked him yet.
Tom Welling's went on a record before saying that he wasn't trying to be character.
Character. He wasn't trying to fall into the Superman curse.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
but Brandon Routh is proof that is bullshit.
What has Tom Welling done since Smallville?
He's done a couple.
Cheaper by the dozen too.
There's a newer movie coming out, or that's already out. It's been out for a couple years now. It's some it's a football movie. I know he's in that because
he's still getting work.
JD,
Draft Day.
Becky's brother JD.
Mm.
Huge Superman fan, huge Smallville fan, so he loves Tom Welling. He's also been in one or two other movies since then, but like smaller roles, nothing.
Yeah.
Draft
nothing
Day,
too,
Parkland,
Draft Day,
The Choice, which is doing it this year.
Yeah. He still gets work,
The Fog.
and if you follow him on Instagram, like, the pictures he posts, he's still got money. So I don't know if he invested that somewhere, or if, like, it's because of the work that he is getting.
How awesome would it be that if they did, if all this is true, and Tom Welling is coming as Superman, whether it's a Smallville Superman or not, they touch out to Michael Rosenbaum and bring him in as Lex.
Yeah. Oh,
I have the biggest
wait.
Oh my god.
What if it leads to, like, because we haven't had a Lex Luthor in Supergirl yet. What if it leads to Lex Luthor as the new villain of the new season of Supergirl, and it's Michael Rosenbaum, and it's just the greatest thing.
Because I would just take a bunch of money and just throw
that
it at
is
CW.
definitely not going to
That's all.
happen, especially because of his Michael Rosenbaum's already got.
I think we would all take out stock in
pretty tight
CW
schedule,
at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah, definitely would. But no, that would be great. But I know that one thing I know is that if they do this, it's not going to be Smallville related unless he's coming from a separate universe from Supergirl and a separate universe from the Flash and all that.
Yeah.
Because they have made reference to Superman's life on Supergirl, and it is in no way related. The only reference they've made to Smallville was the Flash crossover episode, which was so good. But Cat Grant is trying to give Barry Allen a name. Like, she's trying to name this new superhero in town, and she's like, I like the Blur. We're going to call him the Blur. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah.
Yes.
And then she also makes reference to their ethnic diversity. She's like, it's like a bad CW show. And it was like, oh, it was so great. But anyways, I heard that rumor. I really hope it's true. God, I want Tom Welling in that suit. Because that's the only thing. I watched Smallville from season 1 to season 10 for 10 years straight, waiting for that suit, which we got in the last episode. I even sat through season 8, which was hard, because that Doomsday storyline is so bad.
I finished season 7. I haven't went any further, so I think it might be a good.
But yeah, I sat through all that for just a little bit, and that's all you get is just a little bit of him in that suit, and he does the whole run and pops open the shirt,
kind of like you get in that
whole thing.
First episode of Supergirl.
Yeah. So it like. And I was so satisfied with that little bit that I got, and now that it's been like the latter half of a decade since that went off the air, I'm starting to get that craving. Like, we never got him in the suit, really.
Yeah.
And so this would be the greatest payoff.
And from what I've heard, Tom Welling in the suit in that last episode is actually Brandon Routh, and they. Like,
I heard that too, because
they
the
put
suit,
his head on.
The suit that they showed that whole last season, because they showed the suit earlier in the season, was the Superman Returns costume, and so I heard that too. So it would just be great to have him in this costume.
Still,
that's okay. It's probably just a rumor. I feel like it would have made bigger news.
They haven't made up their mind yet.
But anyways, I figured it was
3 interviews and.
But since while we're still on the subject of CW shows and stuff, let's talk about something that Kevin Smith said about the Flash, because he recently directed an episode that aired recently.
Was so good.
Yeah, I've heard great. I'm so excited.
I'm not gonna lie, I teared up, dude. Of course, it's a Kevin Smith episode, but man, it was so good.
But yeah, he was talking about the Flash and reading the script and everything, and he goes off on a little tangent praising the writers of the Flash, because he says that and this was on his podcast, Fat Man on Batman. Give him a little nod. We're not sponsored or anything, but yeah. But he says that the writers are always a step ahead, that they know where they're going, that they don't just do it episode by episode, make it up as they go. And I love that. I think that's what works for the Flash so much, because they treat it like the Marvel Cinematic Universe does. Who was it that was in charge of?
Kevin Feige.
Kevin
Feige, I don't know.
Feige.
Yeah, we're terrible with
Feige.
names. But
It looks like it's spelled like beige.
I'm
So I'm going to say
the way
Kevin
that they
Feige.
treat the Marvel Cinematic
It's German,
Universe,
you know.
where they're thinking,
Cry.
where they're thinking about Phase 3 and Phase 4 while they're in Phase 2, and obviously things change because they got the rights to Spider-Man, and then they immediately changed an entire chunk of the Civil War
I
story.
still feel like they were partially prepared for that.
Yeah, I think
They
they had
had
a backup.
something like they had
backup
a Spider-Man backup story ready.
Or at the very least, like a good storyboard already laid out, and they knew, like, if
Yeah,
we
but,
are
I
having,
mean,
if
it's
we do happen to
still-
get him, we can still squeeze him in. But if we
It
don't have
hiccup
to have him,
production a little bit, like, because that was some of the story that was going on. They were like, well, filming's going to go on a little longer now because now we have to retool some stuff. But even if they had a backup, it's still, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Like, and they've now fit Spider-Man into this whole universe that they already had planned. And I think that's so great. I think that's why The Flash is probably the greatest superhero show on TV right now.
absolutely, I've been saying that for a while.
It feels very, very seamless.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, granted, I still really enjoy the Arrow. I don't miss an episode. But it has its moments where it feels choppy.
It feels sometimes it feels like a chore to watch it.
Yeah, because
Sometimes it gets really good spots, and then
That's a lot like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for me.
Yeah.
It's like you've got to wait like a whole 7 episodes before you really get to the stuff
before
you
it
give
hits a
crap
good
about.
stride.
Yeah.
And that is kind of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s thing, is they do a lot of setup for the season at the beginning of the season, but then after that it takes off.
Well, they could just let the entire last season set up the next season, and vice versa. Like, do interesting shit while setting up the next interesting shit.
and going back to the show we're talking about,
Yeah.
and going back to Kevin Smith, he's actually said it on a few podcasts that the thing I love about Flash, I mean, he said it, but I feel exactly the same way. The thing I love about Flash is that it literally feels like a comic book in live action.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's an overall story arc, like each season is a story arc, but within that story arc, each issue or episode, there's side stories like, King Shark coming in or whatever the villain of the week is, but it still
ties into the big story.
I agree to an extent, but like what we were talking about with Batman vs Superman, about one of the reasons it's not critically accepted is because it abandons the movie 3-act structure and it plays out like a comic book. I don't get that feeling from The Flash. It plays out like a CW show.
It does, exactly. but as far as staying in that CW format, it's very comic booky, especially compared to something like Arrow. Granted, Legends of Tomorrow is kind of their superheroes meet Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Type, but it's honestly, I still thoroughly enjoy it. I feel like the payoffs.
Are you caught up on it?
I think I have. I'm maybe an episode behind.
This last episode was good. I feel like there's another episode at least. There has to have been.
I want to say it feels like the payoff is not going to be as great as it should be.
That's what I'm afraid of.
But yes, back to
yeah,
Flash,
they I feel like this hopefully starts off a chain reaction. Like, people will start to see this is how you do it. This is what's working for Marvel. This is what's working for the Flash. And I hope Arrow takes point on this, and more importantly, I hope the DC films, Warner Brothers, I hope they take this approach, and with them bringing on Geoff Johns, which we're going to talk about much later in the podcast, but yeah, with them bringing in Geoff Johns, and like I said, this being a more and more evident thing, hopefully we start getting some progress on the other things, like the Marvel animated movies. Chelsea, you asked me what I thought about the Spider-Man film, and the Spider-Man animated film starring Miles Morales.
Miles Morales.
Yeah, I'm not too invested. I think it's a cool idea, but Marvel's animated movies are where DC's live-action movies are, and vice versa.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched a few Marvel animated movies. They're enjoyable. They're
not
like
bad,
them, but something about DC's though is it feels more motion picture like
and dedicated to the books.
Yes, definitely.
Whereas you turn around, give me the good old '90s X-Men and Spider-Man. And I'm happy.
Yeah.
And those, well, the X-Men not so much, but Spider-Man kind of did its own thing. It was like, oh, there's stuff in the comics. We'll talk about that.
We'll toss that in there.
We might touch it.
We'll
It's,
get there.
oh, here's Venom. We can use him forever.
Okay, let's go ahead and get into the meat of our nerdy obsessions, and that's comic book.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and start with, we all know that DC are bringing back the Hanna-Barbera characters in kind of a new feel, all completely in general.
They're reimagining the Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about Scooby Apocalypse, because who doesn't like Scooby-Doo?
Right?
And in spite of what everybody was whining and complaining about online whenever the first Jim Lee cover was first released, this book, man, I was a little iffy on it. I like Jim Lee's art. I like the reimagining of the characters. I wasn't too keen on like Scooby has this goggles with like that talks in emojis and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that's how he was going to talk, was instead of like ruh-roh, he's just going to talk in emojis. I'm like, don't do this. But the more and more while I was waiting on this book to come out, I got more and more excited for it. But after actually reading this, I think I am in love.
Really?
And I have full faith. If any of the other books, even just one other title, is as cool and interesting as this, at least to me, then I'm going to start picking them all
I
up.
don't think
just
there
to give it a
will be.
chance.
Like, I mean, what's the other one? Future.
All right, we got the Flintstones, and that's
supposed to be just realistic.
What's her name?
It's supposed to
that
make
was on Harley Quinn. Connor.
Amanda
Right,
Connor.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not.
It looks very Harley Quinn-ish, you know.
All right.
I'm excited.
I get. Yeah, I'm
We
not
also
too
have,
excited for.
Was it
Flintstones.
Space Quest?
Future Quest.
Future Quest. Thank you.
Future Quest.
It has
That
Johnny
does
Quest
look
in it.
cool.
It has everybody. Space.
I'm
Ghost,
hoping
everything.
it'll revive faith in these
What's the one that looks
characters.
like Death Race?
Wacky Races.
Wacky Races. Thank you.
And I don't know shit about that.
No, but it looks
I don't know
sweet.
either.
So like
what
this
else?
is the
I
only
used to
one.
This was the main
hard.
one that I was interested.
This is the only one so far where they're really reimagining it. The rest they're probably just gonna update.
Yeah, this one. I mean, this one is still at the core of it is still Scooby and the gang. This is
Yay.
this is where they all meet, or at least Scooby and Shaggy are already together.
Yeah.
But which is funny because at the end, kind of like the Power Ranger comic stuff, they have a little mini story, a few pages in the back. At the end of this one, it shows the meeting of Shaggy and Scooby first time.
Oh, cool.
And it's kind of cute. Well, I'll go ahead and get started with it. We start out with Daphne, and she's on.
That's Velma.
That's
Velma. I'm sorry. Yeah, I already fucking.
like-
I love this book.
Yes,
I don't know
right
anyone
on.
in it.
I don't know who these characters are. What is this? Flintstones? I don't know. All right, it shows Velma in Paris 1 year prior. She has this weird green device and keeps talking about how essentially the end of days are upon us. That she kind of sounds crazy, to be quite honest. Talks about how she and other people are destroying the planet, like her and specifically a few other people. And next page we jump into is it's almost like a I can't remember what they call it, but it's almost like a Day of the Dead type festival. Everybody's dressed up in weird, crazy. It's almost like a rave in the streets.
I was saying that kind of looks like a rave going on.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what it was called. This is why I need to take notes. But we have Daphne talking to Fred, and Daphne is a reporter, of all things. She has a like an unsolved mysteries.
Isn't that what they made her
Supernatural.
in the movie? Like, because the movie,
I don't really remember much.
the
of
movie starts out with them solving their last mystery. They all have a fight, go their separate ways, and then when we re-meet them, I think Daphne is like a TV reporter.
I'm not sure, honestly. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Well, she has a show that like kind of touches on like Bigfoot and monsters and
Okay.
unsolved mysteries. And Fred's her cameraman.
Yeah, that's,
And
that's
that's it, yeah.
exactly what
Okay.
they did in the movie.
Yeah.
That was it. Well, they're talking about that they have they got some information from somebody. They don't even know who it is. They got a meeting point they got to get to, and Fred is just a wuss in this. He's
kind of.
but I mean he's a big sissy in this. Yeah, so they pretty much talk about that they need to meet up with their informant, and then at the same festival we see Shaggy and Scoob, and they're looking for food. Obviously, that's what they always do. And he keeps talking to Scooby about taking him out of the complex, how he shouldn't be out of the complex. So there's some kind of base that we know that Scooby and Shaggy are at. Scooby keeps giving him shit and keeps kind of giving him the cold shoulder because apparently there's some goggles that helps him communicate called emotigoggles. And yeah, they pop up with little emoticons and stuff, little emojis. Scooby still talks. He still does his normal runt rows and everything else, but he also has these little emojis, like when they're talking about what they want to eat. Shaggy's naming off like we can have Indian food, Chinese, and he's like, Scooby's like, no, pizza, and then like little pizza emoticons come up, repperoni. Like, all right, well, let's go find it. Let's go find a place to get some pizza. Next page is Velma at a lab essentially, and there's a worker at the lab that's surveilling Shaggy and Scooby, saying that I don't know if the last names of all the whole gang has ever been announced prior, but they give real names in all these. I'm not going to try to track them down because I did not take notes. But Scooby-Doo is his nickname. His technical name is number 24602, and he is an experiment. He's the first of his kind of a smart dog. Like they implant him with like a language chip, a communication chip. That's how he's able to actually talk. You know what I mean? Say his ruh-rohs and stuff. But they said that he never progressed past like the speech level of about a toddler. That's why it's not very clear and it's kind of choppy, you know. And the smart dogs, they were developed for the military, cold-blooded killers that they could essentially control. And we wind up finding out that Velma is one of the head honcho scientists at this complex, at this lab. And she goes and tells this worker that don't worry about calling in anybody to come retrieve Shaggy and Scoob, because no one's going to notice them. Look at this festival. No one's going to notice this hippie guy with tattoos and a dog wearing emoji goggles. Like, just leave him be. Like, he knows how to handle this dog. And come find out, Shaggy actually has almost like a sixth sense when it comes to dogs. He's able to communicate with them, and he's actually just a dog trainer for this program of smart dogs. That's how, he wound up being with Scoop. And as we progress, we find out that Velma is the informant for Daphne and Fred, and she's pretty much going to be selling out this complex. And the program is called Project Elysium. This special, Black Ops type project that go into here in a little bit. The next panels we have is we have Daphne and Fred sitting in the desert waiting for their informant, which, like I just said, was Velma. And they're arguing about Daphne keeps trying to make herself sound better, saying she was a Pulitzer Prize winner, and Fred is like telling her like, no, you never won the prize. Well, I could if I stuck around, but I didn't want to sell out to the mainstream. I want to be on the inside and expose all the lies. He's like, well, wouldn't it be better if you were in the mainstream so you can get behind the scenes? Like, keeps giving her shit, and he keeps talking about pretty much like he's always looking out for her. He's always trying to like make sure that she's safe. So in the midst of this argument, these little metal arms pull up a boulder, which is an exit from the complex, and Velma's coming out. Fred freaks out, thinks they're mole people coming out, throws his camera at Velma, knocks her the fuck out. and Daphne's trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
Such a great panel.
It is. And Fred's talking about, don't you remember the mole people that we talked about? Like, that we did the episode on? Because now they were talking about, they used to be on a good network, had good viewings, and then they kept getting knocked down to worse hours. And now they're on a knitting channel at like 4 a.m. They're like, so only old women with insomnia are the only ones that notice us. So whenever we saw Shaggy at that same festival, he was like, I think that's the woman that's on that mystery show that my grandma watches. Man, she can never get any sleep. Like, so the show that they do, apparently they did an episode of Mole People, and Fred's still terrified. Then we cut back to Shaggy and Scoob trying to get their pizza, and the only pizza place they can find only serves like gluten-free, like tofu, cheese, and no mayo sauce, and just pretty much an all gluten-free type pizza. And
that's not pizza.
No, and Scooby is pissed. And apparently with Scooby's goggles, he's able to, if there's some kind of distress from one of these doctors, which Velma's one of them, he gets an alert that she's in trouble and goes in fucking attack mode and just runs off. Shaggy starts chasing him. They go out of panel. Cut back to Velma getting slapped by Fred trying to wake her up. Daphne's telling him, like, don't, you just hit her in the fucking head. Like, don't slap her, don't make it worse. And he's like, well, it happens all the time in the movies, and it's not the fucking movies to quit slapping her. So they're sitting there arguing. I'm just trying to protect you from mole people. So they're still sitting here arguing about the mole people, how he's trying to protect her. And while they're arguing, Velma wakes up, trying to tell them, like, you know, I mean, you guys really fucking suck at hellos. Like, why don't we calm down? Let's talk about this. Don't worry about it. They hear her growl, look over, and next page we see Scooby in fucking full attack mode, looking beast as shit. I've never seen Scooby-Doo look terrifying.
Yeah. He's not that guy.
Fred thinks it's a werewolf.
God damn it, Fred.
Mole people and werewolves.
And I mean that's when Velma informs him, like, no, it's Scooby. It's one of our. He sees you as a threat because
man, they were really pumping Rebirth ads
every page. Of course, the centerfold is the big, DC Universe Rebirth. But Velma calms down Scoob. Shaggy runs up and realizes that Velma's there. Velma's one of the doctors he knows, sees her there all the time, knows that she's a bigwig. Pretty much says, like, wait a minute, you never leave the complex. Like, what are you doing here with the smoking hot babe from Mysterious Mysteries? That's the name of the show. And Velma gets pissed off for calling her a smoking hot babe because it is profoundly offensive, and offers him an autograph instead for some reason. No, so they finally agree. Let's go down here to the complex. I'll show you everything we're talking about. And Velma goes into, this is where I'm probably going to mess up a little bit because this is all the crazy details. But essentially, this program that they created has these nanobots, these microscopic machines that they were supposed to pretty much take out, like, the hate out of people's emotions. Like, I mean, how shitty we are to people and, like, violence and stuff. It's kind of, like, try to chill out the human race a little bit so we didn't wind up destroying each other. And come to find out that the scientists behind this program, which I'm still not 100% sure if Velma is one of those scientists or she just worked on the program. Because she always mentions 4. She slips up once and almost says 5 and then corrects herself and says 4 again. But she finds out that these nanobots, instead of actually helping out, are really just going to pacify the human race and pretty much use them as slaves. But instead, I'm pretty sure what she was saying was that it was malfunctioning to the point where, like, now the human race is at stake, and we are essentially upon the apocalypse days. Like, they've fucked up something, and they still have yet to really explain what it is yet in this issue. But there's something going on where it's the end of days. Like, we are in some serious shit. While she's walking around, showing them this complex, about to bring them down to what she calls the safe room, which is where those 4 scientists will be sealed off whenever these nanobots get dispersed. Shaggy's arguing with her, trying to tell her, like, I've worked in this complex for years, and there's no such room, there's no such thing. Like, we train dogs here for the military. There is no weaponizing of things besides these dogs. Until they get to the point where Shaggy's looking around saying, wait a minute, I've never been in this spot before. Like, what the fuck? Like, okay, apparently you're right. And as soon as they get down to the safe room, power completely goes out, and the countdown for these nanobots to pretty much do their thing goes into effect. And the only way that can go into effect is if all 4, or possibly 5, like I said, of these scientists all put in their code at the same exact time. Pretty much like a missile launch. Like, they all have to do it. And she said there's like thousands of fail-safes, so there's no way this could be done unless those scientists are the ones that initiated it. So that's the very end of the issue, and the very next page, whenever the lights go off, they ask Velma, the power's out, is that a good thing or a bad thing? She goes, I wish I knew, Miss Blake, talking to Daphne. And so I wish I knew. In the very next page, I don't think this is Earth. I think this is this whatever new dimension or whatever they fucked up and got access to. But there's a werewolf, there's essentially like creatures from the Black Lagoon. There's an actual wolf, mummy, all kinds of monsters and demons and all kinds of crazy shit going on.
So many people to take masks off of.
And then, like I said, at the very end of the book, we get the meeting of Shaggy and Scooby, and this is 3 years prior to the events in the main story, and it takes place at the complex. Shaggy is, like I said, he's a low rent dog trainer that has almost a sixth sense with dogs. He's he's pretty much the alpha male. He is Chris Pratt in Jurassic World with the Velociraptors.
Okay.
That's he says heal, they fucking heal. And he's getting walked around, and this doctor, the scientist, whatever, is explained to him about the Smart Dog program. And they get to the kennel, and they're explaining that Shaggy is patient 1. He was the very first Smart Dog, but he never had the killer instincts because he's such a big sweetheart, a big softie. He never had the killer instincts that he wanted, so he's essentially a failure in that program.
Scooby.
So yeah, Scooby is. So essentially, every dog after that they got, were the good dogs. That's what they were going for, these killing machines. Scooby never got to that point. So Scooby is down in this kennel with these dogs that have like spiked armor, those crazy goggles and everything. They're in like battle armor essentially, and Scooby's not. He's bare ass. And they start tearing the fuck out of him. They start attacking Scoob because they know that he's the weaker dog out of all of them. The scientist is about to disperse a sedative, but in mid-sentence, Shaggy says, "Fuck you," runs down there, and literally yells at the dogs, "Back the hell off." They kind of growl at him. He does the Chris Pratt, puts up his hands, says now, points out, he's like, "You heard me, you heard me." And they step back and they heal. And then the scientist comes out and tells him, like, that was fucking reckless, but extremely impressive.
Yeah.
He's like, but since we're just going to go ahead and terminate the dog because it's better than what he's having to go through. Shaggy convinces him to let me try with him, and the scientist says, well, if you can get him at least to the point where like he will fall good in this program, we'll keep him around, like as long as you can keep them from tearing you apart and the dog apart, then you can get a raise. I can even get a raise? No, not at all. But personal injuries are not covered, from the program, because you should have read that 200-page contract that you signed. But yeah, I think all in all, I fucking thoroughly enjoyed the story.
I love this read.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I'm really looking forward to the others. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well,
okay.
Now I need to read mine.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Odle. Let's go into. I guess you're going with Renato Jones?
Yeah, the first book I'm going to talk about this week is Renato Jones, The 1%. And this is created, written, drawn, colored, and owned by Kyle Andrews, which is the same person who worked on Iron Fist: The Living Weapon.
I feel like she was just like, she had a team, and they kept like, she's like, you know what, I got this. You guys all fucked it up.
Or just done like a Scotty Young with Buck Fairlane. It's just
Yeah.
like, this is my personal story. Like, this is how I want the art to look
Yeah.
like. This is, yeah.
So, first issue, we come in, we're introduced to our character, Renato Jones. He's at a fancy mansion birthday party, and he walks away with someone who brings him a slice of his birthday cake and says, "You have everything you could ever want." And he says, "Not everything." And
turns out it's a dude. Chelsea just showed me.
Yeah. He kept saying that. I was like, she. I'm like,
yeah.
With a name like Kyle.
Canadian. It's Canadian.
But
it could be a woman's name.
So we go to a flashback of Renato as a young child. And the way these flashbacks are is they're all black and white. They're very exclamatory.
Yeah.
That is,
That's
is that a
nice
word?
It is.
Yeah, I think
It's the word I'm using.
I would have stumbled all over that.
Exclamatory.
It's cool.
But we see like him seeing his mom falling down on the floor with a crazy person with a shotgun in the background, and just the look of terror on his mom's face, the look of terror on his face. He drops his teddy bear, and in the background of everything, you just see the word "blam" spread across 2 pages. So his mom's been killed.
Or he has stormtrooper type aiming and hit the wall instead.
Something.
Damn it! Sorry. Never mind.
So
I only brought one around.
after that flashback, we go to a huge yacht in the Caribbean Sea. And we see Renato getting off of a helicopter onto this guy's boat called the Apex. Now, the guy's yacht that he's getting onto really overuses the word dude. Like, almost every sentence, he uses the word dude. I'm like, this is genius. Just the way it's all written out. Like, you just really kind of hate how fake this guy is. And so he gets on the boat, and he's saying, glad you found a reason to make the trip. Cameron will show you to your room. She's my favorite new thing. And it's talking about how this guy can own a lot and do everything just like anyone can, as long as you're prepared to pay for it. And so we go in, they're eating dinner, and Renato bumps into one of the waitstaff. And he's like, this is $1,000 shirt. What's this clumsy pig doing on your staff? So the guy whose boat he gets on, he's like, dudes, escort Cameron off the ship. She's killing our bus. So his favorite new thing, he just had his security just take off of the boat via helicopter. And she's begging him, saying she needs this job to feed her kids and all this and that. And he's like, they're not even people anyway. Oh. Is what the guy whose boat it is.
Yeah. The asshole. The dude guy.
Let's call him asshole.
We're going to call him the dude guy.
The dude asshole.
The dude asshole.
Doodle?
So we come over and we see just Renato Jones, and we see a white outline. It's all black and white.
It's kind of how the Blam.
Just like that was. And it's explaining Renato's outlook on what he just witnessed was an incredibly shitty thing. Yeah. Pissed him off, and he's like, who will make them pay? And then one of the things I really have to point out is because this book is completely owned by Andrews, there's no ads. All of the ads are like, they're like expensive perfume ads, but this one says comic books for the super rich, Renato Jones.
That is so awesome.
And that's how every like ad page in the book is. It's great. So we come back after that splash page, and we're seeing people are dead on this boat. Just left and right, people are dead. So Renato, asshole dude, and Ming Ming, a maid, are running through the halls trying to find a safe place to go. So they find, apparently he has this giant safe room vault in his boat, which is ridiculous. The boat itself is huge. And this giant safe room, and Renato kicks the maid out of the room. So they think they're being chased by this guy, and he kicks the maid out of the room saying, you don't belong here. So asshole is commending him for kicking her out because they're not even people anyway. Not at $10 an hour. They're not real people.
Hey, I make $10 an hour.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I'm a real boy.
Turns out they're kind of in this guy's little sex dungeon.
What?
Yeah, like there's a video camera, stirrups, chains.
Mine just is peaked.
Mine too.
All sorts of stuff.
Sorry.
So
we're all back in.
Sorry.
Yeah. So while the asshole is watching the monitors for the guy going around the ship killing people, he's looking at this stuff with kind of a look of disgust on his face. Renato is.
Nah.
And they see a blurry image of the guy who's been killing people. And he's like, they call him the freelancer because no one knows who the fuck he works for. So from there we go to a busy city street. This is kind of another flashback, but in color. Busy city street of a kid running on the tops of cars, talking about Indonesia is a place where you don't have to hide unless you have a reason. So this kid's running on top of cars away from the cops because he's apparently stolen something. He gets into a hiding place with his family. Appears to be his family. And they ask where the drugs were. And the boy says, I threw them away. So the guy stands up. He's like, the little shit's over here. What kind of reward do I get? And they shoot the guy in the head. Like, the cops just shoot the guy in the head when he announces the kid is over there. And then they turn around and shoot the woman, too. So, because the woman was trying to protect him, they shot the woman. So, they take the boy in. And here we have another ad. Luxury. You'll pay for it. Renato Jones. And
I love that.
they're just like classy
cool.
perfume ads.
Yeah.
And it even shows a little bottle of perfume on there.
With the,
I love that.
With the Renato Jones
Yeah.
logo.
So they take him to the police station. They're grilling him. They're like, "Who are you? Tell us who you are. You know, we're trying to give you another chance." And they tell him two choices: we take cash or you take bullet. Like they're trying to either get money out of him or they're gonna kill him. And he looks between them at the wall of missing people posters and sees himself on that wall. So the child is Renato Jones, who apparently ran away after his mother was killed. So this old guy shows up, Mr. Church, to take him home. And they're on a plane. He's apologizing and condolences for not having been there. And they get home and they drive through the gates of the Jones estate. And this old, weird, fat lady grabs Renato Jones and hugs him, like, straight in between her tits. Like, he's, like, being suffocated at this point. And she says she's going to take him in for a big bowl of vanilla ice cream. And she gets him in there, and he says, vanilla makes me rich. Like, he's starting to remember a few things about when he was still living here and rich. So they go in, and he's looking around where he used to live. And he says, I'm not taken to a room, but a crypt. And the sound of death is lifeless, because he's back in his room that hasn't been changed since he left. From there, we flash back to present day on the boat. And the asshole guy has recorded every single adventure that he has had with people in that safe room. And
I mean, because why wouldn't you?
Well, he's talking about, where is it at? Some of the different things that he has recorded, things that are very not appropriate. And apparently he hurts the people that he's with. Like,
oh yeah, well that's not cool.
Incredibly hurts.
If there's no consent, it's not cool.
Exactly.
But then the guy's watching the video feed, notices something's wrong, something's off. He says, something's wrong with the time code, dude. And Renato's watching the voices in it, or the videos in the background, saying the voices are pleading, the sounds of torture are international. And the guy's like, this video is from 20 minutes ago. I'm not live. And by this point, Renato has put a mask on, and he says, not for long. Scares the piss out of the guy.
Like, literally? Oh, never mind.
And like, you just see these Renato's menacing eyes. The mask on this, it is just cut, like, very thin slits for the eyes.
Yeah. Which is creepy.
Yeah.
I like it.
And so he tells him, you know, dozens of undocumented workers, your employees have been disappearing for years, young women, mothers, daughters, and you take advantage of them. So you can tell he's winding up for the kill, as he's holding just a fistful of these SD cards from the videos this guy's made. The guy asks him, you know, what's it going to take for you not to kill me? Who are you working for? I'll double their price. Everything has a price. What's yours? So we pan back to years prior, the boy back in the mansion in bed. The old lady with the creepy glasses and the big boobs, that everything's just disproportionate about this woman,
Love it.
sneaks into the room, fires a shotgun at the bed where it looks like he's laying.
Oh.
But from where he's been sleeping on the streets for so many years, he couldn't get comfortable on the bed, so he was sleeping underneath of it. And it says, turning away from comfort and luxury saved my life that moment. I'll remember that. So she flings the bed away from him with unnatural strength for a lady of her age. And glares at him and says, try to take my money, how dare you? Tries to fire another shot at him and smacks him halfway across the room. we go back to the yacht, and the asshole guy apparently has a watch that turns him into the Hulk.
Really?
Yeah, like just straight up.
It's like Bane's, like Bane's
More like
serum.
kind of looks like Bane. You know, he pumps the venom.
Oh yeah.
Maybe some
More
watch
of a
just
Venom
injects it.
situation.
Yeah, because you see, like he does something to his watch, and it goes splurt foosh, and
Splurt,
he just
nice.
grows into this giant Hulk,
I
starts
watched
beating the
that too.
hell out of Renato Jones, and so Renato's like jumping around, doing all sorts of stuff, trying to evade him, and the guy grabs Renato's gun, which is almost like a gun blade pistol, shoves it in his face.
Oh.
Like a Final Fantasy VIII type thing. Like
Yeah,
gunblade,
like
Oh, okay. Actually,
Ooh, I like that.
more of a Gears of War, like
Yeah.
bayonet looking
Okay.
thing
Yeah.
on the bottom almost.
so the guy rips it out of his hands and shoves it in Renato's face. So we're doing a lot of jumping back and forth during this fight.
Yeah.
So it pans back to the old lady trying to kill Renato as a kid, and it looks like Oogie Boogie on the wall.
It
Like
really
it's
does.
the shadow of
That's
the
exactly
woman
what
on
I
the
thought
wall.
just a minute ago. That or
It's like a boogeyman.
what's
The-
Pokemon's name? Haunting.
Haunter?
Or you mean
Haunter,
Ghastly?
Yes, yeah.
Guess
Or not Ghastly? Not
Ghastly,
Ghastly.
Haunter,
Gengar.
Gengar.
kind of a mix
Haunter
of
or
Haunter
Gengar?
and Gengar.
Yeah.
Gengar's
But-
the one that's like
Second evolution.
Haunter.
Hunter.
Haunter.
That's what it meant.
Definitely Hunter.
So
Like space. Sorry.
so she's
Fair.
trying to kill him, and screaming about how she killed his mom. No, she didn't say that. She was talking about rat whores shitting out little germs like you.
Oh.
He's like, you don't talk about her. And so she goes on to call her a whore again. And he screams, you don't talk about her, and punches her in the gut.
You don't talk about my mama.
So she doubles over, drops the shotgun, and the shotgun goes off in the lady's face.
Oh my god.
Like straight through, and she falls down on the gun. The gun goes through her fucking head. And then we see the old man, Mr. Church,
Well, let's go.
standing here in the door. He's like, this is restitution. Grandma Jones didn't hire gunmen to murder her own son. She did it herself. So Grandma was the scary image those years,
Yeah.
prior, trying to kill him and everyone in there. And so Church was telling him, you can't just hide from all of this. This is who you are. You have to do something about it. Everything has a price. Go earn it. So we go back to the fight. Renato, with the mask on, huge ass smile on his face, wraps chains around the guy's neck, realizes there's got to be some kind of tech doing this, smashes his watch, and then comes over here and tells him his time has come to pay for what he's done. These are your crimes, the cost of your restitution. And the guy's like, dude, they're not even people. Like, trying to back up his own case by
He
saying they're
seriously
not
believes
even
that they're not
people.
people. This is ridiculous.
And the big splash page here is black and white Renato with the gun in the guy's mouth saying, choke on this, which is apparently the catchphrase for Renato Jones.
Yeah.
It says yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
Nice.
after the kill, we just see him kind of slink back into the darkness and saying it's time to expand the hunt. So we see panels of other people, like someone's shit is being moved out of their home. She's basically being kicked out by the, what do you call it, slumlord?
Landlord. Slumlord is the derogatory term for a landlord who has a shitty property.
Okay, well, like a rich-ass guy kicking someone out, and the movers carry this lady's kid out and hand it to her, and you see Renato Jones coming down out of the moonlight saying, they won't escape me. And it just goes into Q&A from there, and a preview for the next. And we end on another ad of a naked woman up against a man in a tux for another comic book ad for Renato
What's
Jones.
that in the pocket of his tux
Restitution.
jacket?
That would be Renato Jones issue number 1.
So,
So all of these
I love
ads have issue number 1 in them.
That's so great.
So,
Perfume's called Restitution.
like, I loved the art, the story. everything about this was just entertaining from start to finish for me. Some of the dry moments were the flashbacks, where you don't really, you get just backstory. It is. It sets up the character for future books, and I think I'm excited for it.
Okay.
You said Kari, Kyle,
I liked
Andrews.
it. I should have bought it.
You should have.
Yeah, the reason he has this is because I passed on it.
No, I already
did you already have one?
I already have
Oh,
it.
you bought the other one to sell.
Hey, Vincent, you want to buy a copy?
Yeah.
What are you reading this week?
Okay, I'm going to try and turn some of you guys here because I'm going to be talking about The Unbelievable Gwenpool, #1. And I'm surprised that this book is actually sold out by this point, although it was on the shelves for quite a while. Well, actually, I would say it's been on the shelves for about 2 months, 2 to 3 months, because they had issue 0, issue 1, and issue 2 is already out, and issue 3 is coming out next month.
Oh, okay.
So, so it's been on the shelves about 2 months, and only recently sold out. So, never mind. But the point is that a lot of people were moaning and groaning about this because, and I did the same thing. I assumed it was Gwen Stacy as Deadpool, another Spider-Gwen, which Spider-Gwen turned out alright, but when you hear Gwenpool, you think, oh, okay, I see where this is going. However, you are wrong. And I will tell you that now. We opened to a couple guys sitting out in a truck talking about the heist that they're about to pull off, who did their job, fail-safe, stuff like that. And it turns out that this bank that they're about to rob is being occupied by a woman named Gwen Poole. And she is trying to make a deposit of all this money that she got during her origins, which you can find out in issue 0, which collects 2 stories in the back of Howard the Duck and the Christmas special. But her origins are basically, she's from our universe where these characters are all comic books, video games, movies, all that. And during the Secret Wars event, she gets put into the Marvel universe and runs in, decides she's going to be a superhero, gets a costume from a woman who makes superhero costumes professionally, and is given the name Gwenpool by this woman who notices that her name is Gwen Poole with an E, and that's the origin of Gwenpool. She just decided to be a hero even though she has no powers whatsoever.
Awesome.
So she's in here trying to deposit half of the money that she got from a situation in her origin stories, and the guy will not do it for her. So while she's trying to convince him, these guys come in to rob the place, and Gwenpool thinks that this is awesome. The big score. Sweet. She's going to save the bank, and then they'll deposit her money for her. They'll deposit the money for her. So she shows up while these guys are raiding the vault, and she's got an AK-47. Or, no, that's an M16. She's got a machine gun, and she just fucks these dudes' worlds up. Just blows the shit out of them.
Phrasing.
Blows the shit out of them. Except for one who gets her pinned down. So she throws a grenade. After all is said and done, this bank is fucked. This bank is destroyed. And she's like, hey, you gonna deposit that money for her? And people are freaking out. They're like, oh my god, don't let her kill us. She's just like, wait a minute, I'm the good guy. If you can't tell by now, she's a little out there. Not Deadpool out there, but she's goofy. So she ends up getting arrested along with the 5th member of this crew, who was their hacker. And she starts asking him about his involvement and finds out that he's a hacker. So she assumes that he can hack their way out of this. It's like, it's cool. Just hack the guy. We'll get out of the cop car. It's cool. While she's trying to convince him to do that, the cop pulls into an alley and starts talking about how he's going to be taking her money that she stole and getting away. She assumes that they're going to kill him, that he's going to kill them, and instead he explains that no, he's witnessed all this stuff that's going down with other superheroes, and he's just tired of it. He wants out of the game. He's going to let them go, take the money, and disappear. And she says, cool, throw in the cop car. And so now Gwenpool has herself a hacker buddy and a cop car and decides that this is her team.
I love this already.
Then it goes into the one thing that is comparable to Deadpool, and that is her talking about her origin. Like every issue of Deadpool starts out with a Scotty Young version of Deadpool saying, "Hey, this is what happened in the last issue. I killed my parents, but I don't know that yet."
I love that.
And it's something like that. So she's explaining a little bit about her origins and what just happened. And then we jump to her taking a job trying to defeat some Sentinels that are attacking Xavier's school for the gifted children. And she's getting her ass kicked, and she's trying to figure out a way to do this job. And then she realizes, holy crap, they fight with the exact same moves as they do in the Sega game, in the X-Men video game. So she uses that to her advantage to plug in this drive so that her buddy, Cecil, can actually hack them and shut them down. And he's like, okay, get them away from the school. And she's like, these people paid for a show. He's like, what people? The people reading this comic book. Because, unlike Deadpool, she knows that this is a comic book universe, where he's just delusional. And so he's like, but you'll destroy part of the school. And she's like, any part with the occupants? He's like, no. Do it. And so he blows up the Sentinels, fucks up the school a little bit, and she doesn't end up getting paid for the job, which she's been getting from the woman that makes her costume, because it turns out that this woman, Miss Ronnie, actually hires mercenaries on behalf of clients to do jobs. So she's like, no, we're putting you on the small stuff from now on, kittens and trees, that type of stuff. And she's begging her, like, come on, give me another shot. She's like, I only really have one job, and it's a big one. There are tons of guards. It's in the open water. There's no way you could possibly do it. We've already sent, like, 3 people. They're all dead. And she's like, well, how much does it pay? She shows her the check, or the bill for it. And Deadpool gets gape-mouthed, wide-eyed, pulls out a marker, starts drawing dollar signs on the eyes of her mask, and says that she's gonna go for it. So they get themselves a helicopter, and Gwenpool decides to drop down into this thing unprepared, because they took her weapons to get on the helicopter. They wouldn't let her on with all of her weapons and stuff. So she figures she's just going to jump out of the helicopter, smash right through the window, start killing people up. She only has to kill one guy to get a gun, is what she's assuming. So she jumps, hits the window, splat. Turns out it doesn't break. It's extra strength. And she ends up realizing that there was a hole in this window the entire time that she could have jumped through. So she jumps down. She's about to kill this guy when she realizes he's already dead. And his gun's laying right over there. So she picks up the gun and just shoots him for no reason. And then walks away. She's walking through this place, realizing that all these guards are dead. And Cecil informs her that it turns out the guards outside are dead too, and that he doesn't think that she's in there alone. We cut to a panel where this guy is killing the head of the submarine, and he's doing his whole little blah 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 blah.
He's monologuing.
Yeah, he's monologuing, and then he's about to call the person who gave him the job and tell them that it's completed, when all of a sudden he's falling into the furnace. And, and then we cut to another panel where he is burning alive, and Gwenpool's got her arms out. She's smiling real big. All she had to do was push this one guy into the furnace, and now he's dead. So she snaps a picture of herself with the guy, and sends it to Ronnie. It says, "Did it!" And she gets paid big time for this. They rent a big hotel room. Nice TV. She's taking a bath in her costume to find out if it's actually a bathing suit. And
I love her.
All of a sudden, the side of the hotel room gets blown out, and out comes MODOK. And MODOK's like,
yeah.
here's the deal, you killed my best guy, now you're gonna work for me. And she's a little dumbfounded at first, and then just cracks up laughing, just losing it, hysterical. She's like, are you serious? MODOK is threatening me? Seriously? MODOK? And he gets pissed and vaporizes Cecil. Vaporizes Cecil. And she's freaking out. She's like, what? And he's like, okay, would you like to be next, or would you like a job? And she says, job, please. And she gets forced into being MODOK's henchman. And then the issue ends. And we get a preview for issue 2, which I have read it, and it is great. And another great thing about these books is that the covers are all anime themed. The first one is FLCL. I don't know what the second one is, but the third one is definitely My Neighbor Totoro.
FLCL, Fully Cooley?
Yeah, look at it.
It's so, it is so Fully Cooley.
FLCL. But yeah, these books are so great. These first 2 issues, I'm hooked. I was really hesitant to start reading. Now it's in my pool. I cannot suggest this enough. And if anything in there sounded like Deadpool to you, I get it a little bit, but really outside of her being a little loopy, not Deadpool loopy, but a little loopy, and that little monologue at the beginning for the intro.
And the name, obviously.
And the name, obviously, which she gets under more understandable circumstances than just, this is a girl named Gwen, and she looks like Deadpool.
I want them to meet.
Yeah. It really does stand off as its own comic. She's her own character. And in issue 2, she does the same thing with Thor. She calls back on her comic book knowledge, because it turns out that she's a huge comic book fan, too, in her universe. So that's really her superpower, is that she knows everything about these people. She
already has the knowledge.
Yeah, she does about the video games, the movies, the comics. She knows what she's walking into, even though she walks in unprepared. So, it's great.
Sounds fun.
I cannot suggest it enough. It's one of my new favorite books right now. Like, I hope it stays there. Especially with Star Wars, it's going a little downhill with me.
Is it?
Yeah, this Rebel Jail, this most recent story arc was a little boring.
The ad on the back of that Gwenpool, it looks like one of the old M&M's.
Oh yeah,
it used to be
Marvel's been doing this in like a ton of their books right now. And they're advertising Eminem's 75th anniversary, and it's all been like comic book themed ads. That's pretty great. But yeah, it's a good book. I liked it. We're gonna go ahead, and Bob did not have a second book because, like we said, we change shit all the time on him for like.
I think you do it for fun.
If we do it next,
we just try to keep you on your toes.
If we do it next podcast, then you can pretty much guarantee that'll be the thing.
I'm gonna read no books for next podcast. I'm just gonna pick up a story.
That's what I did.
All right. So, are you doing Tank Girl night? Because okay. I was gonna say we were both gonna go. I didn't know what we were doing. We're gonna go ahead and do your next book, my next book, and then we're just gonna go ahead and kiss Tank Girl's ass for 2 minutes of kissing that one's ass. Okay.
So
where we go?
Yeah,
it was a terrible time to eat cheese, everybody. God damn it.
Well, we were hungry.
3 of the 4 people at the table are fucking eating cheese.
I already ate my cheese, damn it. And I ate it quietly.
5 people now are eating. 4 people.
5 out of the 4 people here are eating cheese. Good math, Benny. Good math.
I do math good.
All right.
Okay, yeah. One second, real quick. And now I'm eating cheese. So, alright, Captain America #1.
Alright, so the other book I'm doing is Steve Rogers' Captain America #1. This is after the Captain America 75th anniversary, where the sentient cosmic cube makes Steve Rogers young again.
Kobik.
Yeah, Kobik. Makes Steve Rogers young again. Strong, just like he was in his prime.
Now, I do have one thing to bring up.
Can that just happen to Batman?
You know what?
I think it's been happening to everyone.
It raised a question with me, and I don't even think they're going to go into it. I think it is just the super soldier serum is back in his system. But, like, it poses the question, because it was given to him by a cosmic cube, does that mean that he is now naturally like this as a part of his basic genetics, or is it just she put the serum back in him?
Did she just rewind time for him?
Yeah.
Or is this like he is now permanently in his prime, will never age?
I think they should do it like this is a part of his basic molecular structure now, and that way they can't take his powers away the same way again.
Yeah. So
a failsafe.
I think it'll be touched on, but it didn't really hit on it this book. This one starts out.
That book either. Bastard.
The way this starts out is it's set in 1926 in New York. We see family walking out of the theater or down the street or something, and it's an abusive husband beating his wife, his son watching. The son we find out is Steve Rogers, because we hear the man call him Steve. This lady shows up, just walks out. You can tell she's significant because she has a very bright red scarf on, and a red band around her hat.
She's really the only color.
Yeah.
So everything else is a little monotone.
Like you can see the red lights, but I didn't know those were a thing in 1926.
Red seems to stand out.
Yeah. So this lady in red tells the guy, "You need to go home. You need to stop what you're doing. You need to go home." Asks the woman if she needs help. The guy goes to throw a punch at her. She catches it and throws him on the ground, and he just kind of stumbles home. And she helps the boy up, and like kind of pats him, makes sure they're okay. And
on the next page, we see Luke Cage needs a shave.
No, it's not Luke Cage. It's just some guy in his apartment shaving, and Luke Cage just gets thrown through his apartment. Some of these ads in the Marvel comics
it's a black guy
almost as
in a yellow
entertaining.
shirt. It has to be Luke Cage.
So, on the next page, we see Captain America, young in his prime again, busting through a window with a shield, but it's not his round shield. Sam still has that.
Yeah.
This is more of a typical knight's shield.
It looks like his first shield.
Yeah. It's the old, like, kind of triangular shaped one.
Yeah.
And so he crashes through a window. We find out he's on a train. Hydra has hacked this train. Their own hacker, Rick Jones, formerly known as the Whisperer, I guess, got in trouble by leaking SHIELD secrets, is trying to hack against Hydra's hackers who have hacked the train. There's a lot of hacking going on here.
I like this.
And the guy that he's in a hack battle with,
Captain America's trying to hack his way too. There's
The-
a lot of hacking. Gwenpool.
So much
That's what I was
hacking.
going to say. Did they run into
Hacker.
Gwenpool's hacker? In there?
No, not yet.
Not it. He got vaporized.
Poor guy.
Oh.
The
guy.
Hydra hacker's name is Battlestar John Galactica.
Oh, John Galactic. Yeah.
So
Wow.
I'm just like, they
It's a
really
mouthful.
used that.
Yeah. That's pretty bad.
But we see
That's
Cap
pretty bad.
just fighting a bunch of guys on a train, trying to make his way to the engineers.
Yeah. The engine car.
Yeah. Like, trying to make his way up.
Control
And-
car? Something like that. I don't know.
He's asked, Sharon asks him if he sees the bomb. He's like, I see him. So the bomb is a person. And so we get a little bit of this person's backstory who's sitting there with the bomb on him. He's kind of a troubled guy, always been in and out of jail for this, that, or the other. The last time he got out of jail, he fell in with some white supremacists while he was in jail. So when he got out, nothing just felt right until he went to a meeting with one of the guys that later got let out. And it's a meeting with the Red Skull. It's a Hydra meeting. And, of course, Red Skull is inspiring them all to do this and
nice.
that and be Hydra. So So this guy's like, he's all into it and cheering, gets the Hydra tattoo on his chest, and he said, doing nothing while they beat a man to death for no reason, that was hard. So it was a relief when they told him it was time for him to give up his life for the cause. So that's kind of the story of this guy who's the bomb.
Yeah. He's the bomb diggity.
TheBombDiggity.com?
That's the bee's knees.
I feel like that would have been an early 90s website.
Right.
I think it was.
So we go back. Cap is still beating the hell out of guys on a train. Like, that's half this book.
Nick Fury comes out and says, I'm tired of these motherfucking Hydra. This motherfucking
No, surprisingly, Sharon Carter's kind of leading things right now.
Whoa.
Yeah, didn't know that. Then again, I'm not reading.
Yeah.
But he's talking about circling back after getting the train under control, and she's like, we had a discussion about this. He says, I recall it was more like an argument. She says, I refer to the ones I win as discussions. So you can tell, they're still a thing.
They've got a good chemistry.
Yeah. And so she's basically saying it's under control, and we have Jack Flag and Free Spirit, which are two other American-based super soldier-esque heroes.
Old.
Yeah.
Sidekicks.
And these guys, they're just ecstatic to be helping again.
Yeah.
Like, they're just all like, this is awesome! We're doing stuff again!
We're slightly less irrelevant.
Yeah. I mean, no, seriously, Jack Flag says, I'm just excited to be relevant again.
Oh my god.
That is right here,
He's
word
being
for word.
generous.
Oh.
Again.
So, we go back, and Steve's on the train, slamming people around with his shield. And
doing Steve stuff.
The guy finally
Classic
beats
Steve.
Battlestar John, and the train detaches. So it's just the engine car going down the road, going to explode safely wherever. And Cap's like, not everyone's out. So he jumps onto that car, jumps over with that guy, tries to tell him that your mother wants your son to come home. And the guy's like, there's no way, there's no home to go back to. Hail Hydra, blows the car. And so that kind of depressed Captain a little bit that he couldn't save the guy. But then we pan to an interesting shot. It's Steve and Sharon sitting on a swing, like a porch swing, talking. Steve has a glass of iced tea, and they're just talking all sweet and all this and that. And she makes the comment, that he was off his game. He's like, it's this new shield. I'm not used to it.
Blame it on the shield.
Yeah. And that's what she said. She's like, no, there's something going on in your head. You can talk to me. And he's just like, I'm just out of sorts because of the new body that I'm in again.
Yeah.
She's like, well, next time a Cosmic Cube decides to help you out, will you tell him to help out your, mention your partner too?
Yeah.
So they're just kind of playfully bantering back and forth, and we see them kiss and hug up on this porch swing on the edge of a helicarrier. Like, it's just sitting on the very edge of a helicarrier.
The last panel of that scene is just,
and he's just
wide shot of a fucking helicarrier.
And he's like, this is good iced tea.
I love it. Because that is really the only way Captain America could get something like that together.
Yeah, on a fucking helicarrier.
Helicarrier.
So we pan back. We're back to the 20s. The lady with the red scarf talking to Steve's mom. Saying, I know how tough it can be in this day and age. Talking about her husband's no longer with them. That Steve looks to be a very good-hearted boy. All this and that. And then we pan to a break room of Jack Flag, Free Spirit, and the hacker sitting, just telling stories, and even talking shit about Cap and some of his outfits and each other. Where Cap was a werewolf, when he was wearing armor, how ridiculous the shoulder pads looked, and they're just bantering back and forth, talking shit, having a good time after a victory. And it's kind of an interesting scene to see because you don't really see those, like, little victory celebrations from, like, the little guys.
Well, a lot of times you don't get that from any Captain America stuff. Like, it's either them talking about, like, the dire situation they're in or them being in said dire situation.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the Avengers and all that. You never really see the downtime.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about this book so far is we kind of see, like, what happens when they're not on a mission.
I hope it's more than just an issue 1 thing.
I hope so. Because here we pan to Maria Hill looking at all of these different newscasts and
the fallout of what happened in that 75th anniversary issue, basically.
And so Sharon walks in, and Sharon and Maria start kind of talking shit to each other because of Sharon being kind of in control of S.H.I.E.L.D. because Maria hasn't been charged yet for what happened in Pleasant Hill and the standoff thing that they did, which I didn't get a chance to read.
I thought you read a couple of them.
I read the first one, and I wanted to read the rest of it, but I just never got it.
Gotcha.
And they're just talking about how a Hydra agent isn't much of a person worth saving because it's a Hydra agent, and then Steve walks in. He's like, "This is why I'm usually late because I'm hoping you two will wear each other down a little bit." And they're talking about something big, and Maria Hill's like, "We got him." Baron Zemo had been eluding them since the events of Standoff, looking for Kobik, the sentient cosmic cube, and they couldn't track him down, but they finally did, and found him in Bagalia, the city with no laws, supervillain central. So we see Zemo on a rooftop of all places, giving a little monologue, talking about how Red Skull's not fit to lead Hydra. Zemo brought it into the glory that it currently is, and it's rightfully his. And we see 3 guys standing on the roof with him.
More B-listers.
Yeah, more B-list villains. I don't know who they are. I don't know who they are.
I've never heard of.
Like, there's a tiger person, a lizard person, and kind of a molten person.
A magma guy.
That's his name. Magma guy.
And these 3, they're just standing on the roof. They're like, "Well, I need this gig so that I can pay off my student loan debt." One of them was like, "I actually liked it in Pleasant Hill. I had a job as a mechanic and a 2-bedroom house." So, and Zemo's like, just face palm because he's like, "I can't believe I have to start over." And here, Captain America, Jack Flag, and Free Spirit are like, jump down onto him on the roof and just start beating the hell out of everyone on the roof. And the magma guy was like, "I thought this was just going to be like an orientation." And so Zemo tosses something at Captain America, kind of knocks him senseless for a second. It's like a flash grenade almost. Yeah. And Zemo runs to like a Quinjet and goes to take off. Jack Flag and Free Spirit are fighting the people on the roof. He says, "Zemo's mine." So he goes on into the plane where Zemo has Dr. Eric Selvig prisoner, and Captain America's new shield heats up on the bottom, and he just cuts a hole in the top of the Quinjet.
It's not the bottom. It's a blade that comes out. Some sort of like a lightsaber, kind of. It's not like an elongated blade. It's like shaped like the point of his shield. But yeah, his shield is a fucking lightsaber.
So he uses that, cuts a hole.
That's cool.
And he's like, "This ends now." And he was like, "For once, Captain, we agree." So Cap jumps down, starts fighting him, like beating him against the wall, through the plane and everything. And Zemo catches Cap on the cargo door and opens it on him and says, "Sometimes one just gets lucky." So we pan back to the rooftop where Jack Flag and Free Spirit are fighting those people, and the tiger one is like, "Come on, man, I'm just trying to pay my bills." And the lizard guy is on the ground. He's like, I'd just like to point out that I surrendered peacefully. Please remember that when you're asked to testify at my parole hearing. So they want nothing to do with what's going on here now that
they're just trying to make a living.
Yeah, they're just trying to survive. And so Jack looks up and sees Steve hanging off of that cargo door, and he's like, It's time that I saved Captain America from Baron Zemo. And he's like, hey Siri, play Good Vibrations.
Yes.
I love the writing in this so much. Like I loved it the first time I read it, and now like you doing it here, I'm getting a little like, I love this fucking book.
Right? So we go back to the 20s, and the lady is walking Steve and his mom home from that restaurant. Because it's kind of a tough neighborhood. You see some people in an alley smoking. And she's like, don't worry about it. Steve's mom's like, if there's anything I can do in return, just let me know. She's like, I know what kind of area, what kind of time this is. And you have much to look forward to that will make the days go easier. Give him a few years, and Steve will be strong enough to protect the both of you. So, like, she's kind of like...
foreshadowing.
Yeah.
What's going to happen.
So we go back to Cap hanging one arm on this cargo door out this little window, and Zemo's about to strike him down with his sword. So... You see a couple of fingers tap Zemo's shoulder as Zemo is sitting there monologuing. And he turns around, Jack Flag just decks him. And he helps Jack helps Cap up back into the plane. And he's like, this isn't how it was supposed to happen. Not everything's not okay. I'm sorry, Jack. And Steve grabs Jack by the shoulder and throws him out the cargo door. But before that, we go back and see that as the lady in red is leaving Steve and his mom.
Just like want to know that the villains that you didn't know were Firebrand, Plant Man, and Flying Tiger.
Yeah,
there we go.
All nobodies.
Yeah, I've heard of Firebrand.
Yeah, Richard Dennison.
I have a Firebrand comic.
Richard Dennison.
Really?
Yeah. No, maybe it's fuck out. I know.
No, I'm thinking of Star
No one has
Brand
a Firebrand.
I think I'm thinking of a Star Mask. Is it Star Mask and Firebrand or?
Fuck out.
I don't know.
All right,
but
continue.
anyway,
Sorry.
So back in the 20s, as the lady with the red scarf is leaving Steve and his mom, she was like, we have this group of people. We desperately need members. It's my responsibility to bring people in. And then Steve's mom's like, I don't know if I'd be able to make it with everything I have going on at the mill, at home, and all that. And she's like, I just show up to one meeting here, take a pamphlet. I think you'll like what it has to say. And it's a Hydra pamphlet.
Ah.
So the lady hands Steve's mom a pamphlet for a Hydra meeting. So we go over and we see Cap throwing Jack Flag out of the plane. And he's kind of doing an internal monologue. He's like, this is what makes Jack Flag a hero. He acted without the fear of the consequence, doing what he knew to be the right thing. And this was a terrible price to pay for what has to be done. But I too dream of something better. And on the very last page, as I'm sure everyone's seen floating around, it's Captain America standing over Selvig saying, Hail Hydra.
And the internet wasted no time spoiling this.
No, it's
review.
Oh, yeah.
Day one, it was all over the place.
What's
Yeah.
up?
So this leaves a lot to
So many
speculation.
questions. So many questions.
I talked to Seth about it. He gave me he just said one thing and it made complete sense. I believe it was something along the lines of I don't know exactly what happened, but however he got his power stuff back. Didn't Red Skull have a part of that?
Well, yeah, during the 75th anniversary, the preacher that helps them get to Kobik at the bowling alley, he turns out to be the reformed Pleasant Hill version of Red Skull. And he's like,
I think maybe he may have like tampered with something or added something into his.
It's quite possible. But it is also showing flashbacks to his mother having some sort of affiliation with.
Well, I think we're going to get more of, like, in the next issue, I think we're going to find out about that Hydra meeting that his mom went to, and kind of see how that may have played a role.
This feels like something that's going to be branched out over 3 issues. Like, we'll probably find out really definitely what's going on with Cap around issue 3. So it's what, and I can't get why people are jumping off of Cap so bad. They're like, you know what? He's hailing Hydra. I'm done with Captain America for the rest of my life. Fuck that. You want to know why, don't you? Just stick around for why. And if the why is bullshit, then okay, fine.
Yeah.
That's why I'm sticking around. I'm like, I want to know what the hell's happening. Plus, the writing's great.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the writing.
I'm so glad that
it needs to stay that course.
Because I initially picked this book up. I just got the Scotty Young cover.
Yeah.
And they were talking that it was a pretty good book. So I
honestly, the only reason I started reading it was because of Civil War II.
Oh, yeah.
Civil War II. Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't have picked up that 75th anniversary, and I wouldn't have picked up this #1. Because I knew that Captain America isn't the opposition. It's Iron Man versus Miss Marvel, or Captain Marvel. But, I was like, it's Captain America. He's going to play a part.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked up that book. I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
So glad Civil War II was happening because I got to read Captain America #1. Okay. Now we're going to switch gears over to DC, which I think is our only DC book that we've been going through. Yeah, we're going to talk about Rebirth here in a second. I'm going to go through this one as quickly as I can to give you... Oh, yeah, that's right. Scooby Apocalypse was a DC book. No, we usually do talk about Marvel heavily, though.
And you guys are definitely more the Marvel guys. I like them. I like DC books.
Yeah.
Just personally.
To catch you up on what's going on with the Final Days of Superman 8-part story that is bringing to a close the New 52 Superman, basically between the Darkseid War, between him losing his powers and how he got them back by jumping into the kryptonite pool at Argus, a variety of other things, he is dying, and he's gone down every alley to find out how he can reverse it, how he can fix it, and there's literally nothing. His cells are burnt out, they're damaged, they're deteriorating, they cannot be repaired. So, because of this, he has now decided that he's going to do everything he can to try and fix as much as he can before he dies. Say goodbye to the people that he loves and make sure that the world is going to be okay. Like letting Kara have full control over the Fortress of Solitude. Basically handing her the Superman mythos. Making sure that Lois has the materials to write the right story when he's gone. Telling Bruce everything that they needed to say, which was a great moment. Anyways, basically saying goodbye and ensuring the world's going to be okay. In the wake of that, there's another Superman who was an ex-convict, and we haven't really exactly found out why he is changing into this fiery Superman, but he's been running around causing havoc and claiming that he's Superman. He's Clark Kent. So we pick up in the middle of a fight with Superman and this imposter Superman, and they are locked hands to throat in a battle where they are basically arguing back and forth during this entire time, where Superman is telling him who he actually is, about his life and stuff, and the other guy is just like, no, fuck that, I am Superman, my name is Kal-El, I was born on Krypton, and he just goes through the whole thing, and he's like, you're an imposter, I should be a part of the Justice League. So they keep fighting for quite a few pages, actually, until the first person to jump in comes out, and it's Kara, Supergirl, and she comes out and just starts whooping on this new Superman until he bats her off with some huge energy blast, something like Superman's solar flare. And as soon as he does that, the Batwing comes out of the door, slams him right in the back with Wonder Woman following in tow, and messes him up. Batman gets out of the plane, Wonder Woman lands, Superman goes over to check on Supergirl, and Batman's speculating to how long he'll be down, and they need to go check on Superman before checking on this imposter. But turns out Batman's a little off, and the dude busts out of the wreckage of the Batwing, comes out, slams the ground, takes out Batman and Wonder Woman. At this point, Superman's had enough. He's going to pull a Superman Doomsday situation, and he's taking him out to orbit. But while he's doing that, his powers start fading. This is where we're losing Superman. This is the moment when he's done. And even his inner monologue is getting broken up because he's having trouble focusing. When all of a sudden, a character that has been introduced into the new main universe from his own book that spanned out of the Convergence storyline, Superman from another universe, who's married to Lois and has a son named John, named after his father, obviously, comes out and says, "I've got you," and he starts taking them both out into space. And Superman's asking him, "Who are you?" Tells him he's a friend, and he's saying, "Don't worry, I'm here to help." So Superman turns around with the last bit of energy he can muster, and knocks the shit out of this new Superman and says, "Good, I'm glad to hear it because we're gonna need you. The world's gonna need you." Then we get like 4 or 5 pages of DC Rebirth stuff before we get back to it. And Clark, the main Superman, and this imposter are locked in a heat vision battle before they do their solar blasts, which Clark can tell that he's getting ready to do his. Clark is going to try and contain it with his own, absorb the energy, which should protect the Earth. So they explode. Their solar flares just... And everyone is in all of this. We've got Steel and Lana Lang standing by on the ground. They're looking on. The helicopter that Lois Lane is in kind of gets jaunted to the side, and they're shielding their eyes. Batman and Wonder Woman are looking on in awe, and the new Superman from the pre-crisis universe is knocked back. And then we see Superman falling. He's coming down to the ground, and he's coming down hot. Luckily, the new Superman's there to catch him, bring him back down, so that way, it doesn't fuck everyone up, because, like I said, he's coming in hot. Superman manages to make it to his feet for just a moment before falling down, and he's like, "Did I absorb it? Did I do it?" And they're like, "Yeah, every little bit of it, you saved us all." And he's like, "Good, I was worried for a second." Lana runs up, and she's worried, saying, "What am I going to do without my best friend?" And he says, "Anything and everything, Lana." Then Lois comes up, and she says, he says to her, "I should have realized I couldn't keep you out of harm's way when there's this big of a story going on." And he asks her to remember everything they talked about. She says, "I do and I will." He tells Kara to make him proud. She says he can count on her. Steel thanks him for being an inspiration. And he says, "Thank you for having my back all this time, John Henry." Batman gets down and says, "Clark." But Superman's like, "You don't have to say anything. I know." He's like, "You're the best." Then Batman says, "You're the best of us. Serving by your side's been my honor." And Superman turns around. He's like, "No, pleasure's been all mine, Batman." And at this point, his speech bubbles are starting. They do a little more than that.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh.
At this point, Superman's speech bubbles are kind of getting a little because he's fading. And Wonder Woman gets down and says, "It's time." She tells him to let go, and then it's all right, and then his parents are waiting for him.
Aww.
And the last thing Superman says is, "What a lucky man I was." And then there's this crack of red lightning that comes from his body. And
it hits the Flash.
and then he's left in this stone, like basically everything but his cape, for obvious reasons, is left in just a hardened stone state. And we're left with everyone dealing with this aftermath, like this body in front of them. And the new Superman decides to take off while Batman's pointing out that there are a lot of questions. And then Batman asks him, where will we find you? And he says, don't worry, I'll find you. Then we cut to several panels of everyone receiving the news that Superman is dead. Lex Luthor staring at his new Superman suit, which comes out of the Justice League Darkseid War storyline. The woman who had previously, who was responsible for this imposter Superman, looking at the news articles. I can't remember who this was. I can't remember who this was. No. But one of Superman's recent villains sitting next to a newspaper about it. Firemen, random schmucks on the street. Some guy in his home who has thrown his tablet through his TV. All finding out that Superman's dead. And then on the last page, we have Lois Lane typing up a story called Superman, A Hero's Life by Lois Lane. And this is our lead-in to Superman Rebirth, DC Universe Rebirth, and obviously Superman #1. But honestly, this choked me up a little bit because I'm such a big Superman fan, and
sitting there wearing a Batman shirt.
Sitting here wearing a Batman shirt.
They can coexist. Okay.
But I've been reading this whole Last Days of Superman story, and I read the storyline before this where he had lost his powers and everything, and just seeing him dealing with the world and how the world dealt with him in this most recent issue, and then it all coming to a head like this, it was pretty great. Especially since the last time Superman died, one, it didn't stick.
No.
And two, he didn't get time to say goodbye to everyone. We never got that. This one gave us what we missed from the last one. And they even make reference to Superman dying before with the old one because, like I said, he's married to Lois from that universe, and they're discussing.
Yeah, I think they were talking about that in Rebirth.
Oh, was that in Rebirth?
I think it was.
Okay, yeah.
I was gonna say, like, wouldn't most of these people be like, well, he's died, like,
no.
How many times?
No, well, okay, we get some of that from Rebirth. That'll be explained in just a moment. But yeah, that was Final Days of Superman, Part 8, the conclusion. It's great. I'm pretty sure you can find all 8 parts in your local comic shop. Unfortunately, Superman's not that popular for the stupidest reasons. And it's mostly because people haven't been reading him, and they don't know what's going on with him. So, yeah, pick this up.
Who does the art in that issue? No, it's not JR anymore, is it?
No, it's Mikhail Janin.
I like that.
Yep.
I like you, Mikhail.
Did a really good job. And Tomasi's been the writer and the words. But, okay, real quick, we're going to kiss Tank Girl's ass. And, Odle, what did you like about this?
First of all, I read everyone's voices in like an Australian accent.
Yes.
So it made it very fun. But just like flipping through and just how nonchalant a lot of it seems, it's like her tank's gone. Who the fuck? Where the fuck my tank go?
Yeah. Fuck. My tank is missing.
Like that's exactly what we have here.
Yeah.
She's like she was on vacation, came back. Her tank's gone. Fuck.
Yeah.
Like it's at a museum. The chick in the museum is drawn to it somehow.
She's obsessed with Tank Girl for some reason.
Like, so she becomes a Tank Girl. I like how we get a poster.
Yeah, there's a like, for the 2 main covers.
Yeah,
there's a poster in the middle.
They don't do that.
Real quick, I have yet to read this because of my schedule, but I'm flipping through it. I'm loving this art.
Me too.
But
Is it because of
the onomatopoeia
Boing.
around this woman's boobs jiggling, it says jiggle, jiggle, bounce. And I just
and this is not a kid's comic
No,
book. There are tits in here. There's tons of cursing. Like there is like legitimate
page like 3 or 4. There's just tits.
Yeah.
More tits.
And the word fuck.
Yeah. So it is not a kid's comic book.
There's bestiality references going on.
I love this. Well, that's because her boyfriend is a fucking like mutant kangaroo. Anyways, I love this book because one of the great things about Tank Girl is that for some reason, somehow or another, it has never missed a beat over the years. Now, the old stories used to just be one-off Tank Girl fucking shit up, and that was it. Now they've got more linear storylines, and I'm just finding this out. So this is my first delve into the actual Tank Girl mythos, now, like the world they've set up, since I haven't been reading. And everything I've heard about that world it's just always been on point.
See, this is my first time ever digging into a Tank Girl book, and it was fun.
Tank Girl, 2 Girls, 1 Tank. It's just a great comic book. One of the last punk rock comic books there is. In this day and age, there's almost nothing punk rock anymore. It's almost dead. And this is one of those things that sticks with that world.
Punk
It's
never
almost,
dies.
I said it's almost
Punk
dead.
never dies.
It'll live on through us, and then we die, and then it's
Then our children.
That's why we need to teach our children.
Yeah, we try.
They just like mayonnaise and shit.
But no, it is fun. It's clever.
The art in it is actually really
I
good.
like it, yeah.
The art is
the
one
way
of
it's
those things
drawn.
that's like, it's not always exactly the same, but that's another one where they almost never miss a beat. It's like every person who gets their hands on this book knows like,
how to
this is
handle it.
Tank Girl. This is Tank Girl, this is Tank Girl, this is Tank Girl. And they never deviate. They never, like, say, well, what if we did it in, like, a what is the word I'm looking for? Not trippy, but psychotropic.
Yeah,
What if we did it in, like, a psychotropic? Wait, no.
Tank
Fuck
Girl.
you. It's Tank Girl.
Like, one of my favorite spots right here, when her tank's gone, they go to their warehouse to see what they have that they could go and blow shit up to earn money with. And there's like a smaller battle tank kind of thing. There's a motorcycle with a sidecar, and then there's a tank from a fairground.
Yeah.
So
Booga is always fucked. Booga is always fucked. But yeah,
but like
if you're
the
not
little
familiar with
things
Tank
down
Girl,
here.
the onomatopoeias
On
in the
point.
book are great
Amazing.
too. It's just great. If you're not familiar with Tank Girl, you don't really need a head start to pick this up.
No.
There were a couple references, some stuff like, you might not exactly get why she's dating a mutant kangaroo, but after you read this book, it's so out there that who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah. Pick it up. Do it. Just do it. Do it.
Do it.
Stop. Pause this. Go do it.
Do it.
God damn it. Do I
Don't.
have to come over there?
Don't pause it. Finish.
Don't make me turn this
Read
podcast
this.
around.
Listen to this on the way.
Yes.
Don't make me
Finish
turn
it
this
off.
podcast
Do your
around.
drive.
Turn it around.
Okay. So moving on to that, we've got one more comic book to talk about. Before we talk about that, let's talk about who is DC. Who's DC, Odle?
Geoff Johns.
Who is it when we don't know the actual identity?
It's Geoff
It's
Johns.
always Geoff.
That's Geoff Johns.
Like-
They just revealed that there are 3 different versions of the Joker in. Oh yeah, spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anybody have-
If you haven't read Justice League issue 50, it's been out for a little while
First
now.
off,
We've gotta
if
start
you
saying
haven't
that at the
if you haven't read the Justice League Dark Side War storyline, you are fucking missing out.
Yeah.
Jeff Johns
Um,
added
Jeff
that.
Johns.
Jeff fucking Johns.
Jeff Johns.
Jeff Johns is actually Jason Todd.
We have decided that if we don't know who it is, it's Geoff Johns until otherwise revealed.
Yep.
So the Joker is actually Geoff Johns this whole
I knew
time
it.
in 3 different hats.
The Joker wears many hats, and they're all Geoff Johns.
So, but anyways, Geoff Johns has just been recently appointed like co-in charge of DC Films, working with Warner Brothers. And personally, I think this is it could be a good thing. Not is a good thing, because it's going to be one of those things where Geoff Johns is the kind of guy who is going to say, it needs to be like this, this, and this, and then Warner Brothers is the kind of studio, and we've seen this time and time again, who's going to be like, no, we think this makes money, and he'll say, fuck you, you're wrong, obviously, pointing at their past work, and then they'll probably still stand their ground, and he'll be like, you know what? I don't need this. I'm done, and he'll leave. That is how I think this is going to play out. But if it doesn't, and Warner Brothers listens to Geoff Johns like they should, because of, look at everything. Look at everything, Geoff Johns, and you've got it right there. He's the dude. then we could really see an MCU shift here for DC films. And the first thing I think he should do is pull a George Lucas, pull a special edition George Lucas, replace the scenes with the Flash in Batman vs Superman with Grant Gustin, and finally tie the fucking shows in. It won't happen, but they should do it. They should do it.
I would much rather see Grant Gustin on the big screen as Flash than Pedro. I'm just gonna call it
than Pedro West.
A lot of it is because by this point we're 2 seasons deep in the Flash. We have grown to love Grant Gustin. We've grown to love that Barry Allen.
Well, not only that, but it makes so much sense. Though. You've got a popular Flash.
You already have a fan base. And you already have a fan base for at least for just one of the fucking characters.
Yeah.
There's people that I know that watch the Flash and never gave a shit. Like, I wasn't even a big Flash fan prior. And it's my favorite superhero show.
You don't want to put Green Arrow in your Justice League. Maybe not right off the bat. Fine, don't put the fucking Green Arrow in there. Like, then you get good material on Green Arrow about how, like, well, why wasn't I invited?
You'll get Stephen Amell crying.
Yeah. So eventually, I'm sure they'll put him in there, and it's just smart. It's just smart because Legends of Tomorrow is a great way to affect the movie universe.
And right now, they have a perfect.
Oh my God! Right?
Way
don't they?
To do all this.
Okay. Are we about to talk about Flash?
We might start talking about Flash. So you might want to step out.
All right, I'm gonna step out real quick because I'm not caught up.
I'm gonna for a quick minute.
Yeah, I will give you. I'm gonna take my phone. I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to go into this.
Yeah, go for it.
We are over 2 hours.
Well, this is going to be a long episode if you haven't figured it out by now.
I'll be right back.
All the good ones are though.
All right. Well, to kind of recap a little bit on what's going on with Flash. Did you want to just do like the last couple episodes because I don't want to recap the whole season.
Yeah.
Long story short, Zoom has been terrorizing Earth 1.
Barry gives up his speed to save, who's it, Wally this time?
Wally.
Yeah.
Then he got his speed back by being in the Speed Force.
Which, that was the Kevin Smith episode.
Fantastic episode.
Oh my God.
We also found out that Jay Garrick was the Flash, but it's not really Jay Garrick. He kind of pulled a Harrison Wells...
Yeah.
Season 1 type thing. Like,
look
like and come find out, by this episode, the man in the Iron Mask that we've seen in Zoom's hideout, in his home base, whatever you want to call it, is actually the real Jay Garrick.
From Earth 3.
From Earth 3. Now, the episode prior to the finale was devastating to me because there was a death at the end of this episode, and it was a character that I was so happy that came back this season, and it was his father.
Barry's father.
Barry's father, who played the Flash, the original Barry Allen, in the 1990. It was right after the Tim Burton Batman's, because it was the same type of
late 80s,
muscles.
early 90s.
Yeah, that's where Mark Hamill was introduced as Trickster.
Yeah.
So seeing him, just having him back, like the returning some of the actors from the original shows to any universe, like they brought Linda Carter onto Smallville and stuff, like bringing those types of actors back, like to me gains fucking tons of brownie points. So like having him on there as Barry's father, loved. But spoiler fucking alert, the end of the episode prior to the finale, Zoom fucking kills him.
At the very end, and then at the very beginning of the season finale,
it picks
right up.
Which to me, I think killed the emotional shock value.
I agree.
Because right at the beginning, like you still felt like granted, it's probably different if you were binging it or watching it one right after another. But going into it, like I was pissed. Like I was actually on my way to a job site trying to finish off that episode of Flash whenever his father gets killed, and I'm like punching the steering wheel, I'm screaming in my truck, like swerving through lanes, you motherfucker, because I was mad because I love that character.
Yeah.
But that's why they did that. That's why they brought him back. That's why they made you love him, because they wanted that emotional fucking shock value. But where the finale picked up and it showed how crushed and devastated Barry was, to me it lost a lot of that emotion by being 2 different episodes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Granted, I still felt like, yes, like this is fucking devastating because we've grown to love those characters and we feel like we're in Barry's position by that point. But I feel like it was just, I think that episode, the episode before the finale should have had that first little bit of this finale.
Yeah.
It just felt like it would have went better in one full scene rather than break that scene up.
So, pissed off Barry goes and tells Zoom he's going to end him.
Yeah.
And
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to add on to you.
Zoom once again gets away from him, saying that, taunting him, essentially saying that his family was his weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And
he said,
he
now you are like me. Now you are like, you are truly like me. You have felt the loss and the
trying to get him
hatred.
to let the anger take
he's trying to get him to essentially
that.
do the same thing he did.
So basically, Zoom wants to be the best, and he challenges Barry to a race to see who's the best, and that's where that generator.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but Zoom's plan was. They race, and after, 500 laps? I think it's something about 500 laps. It charges it up enough to where he's able to, pretty much have access to all to the multiverse. So he's essentially, and what we find out is Earth 1, where the show actually takes place, Barry's Earth, is actually the center, the center point of the multiverse. It is like the control point of the multiverse.
It's the only place that you can access every other Earth.
So Zoom has full plans on taking complete control of this Earth. That way he's able to control the multiverse. Like you said, Zoom got away at the beginning of the episode, and Barry is pissed. He just has a bloodthirst. He's more on a revenge mission rather than thinking logical, planning ahead, and stopping Zoom. He just wants to get in there, racing, beating, kill him. He even said he wants to kill him.
He wants to make him suffer.
He wants to make him suffer. Not just kill him, but suffer.
So the rest of the group, they lock Barry in one of their cells.
Yeah, they all came into agreement that they made this decision that they're going to lock up Barry. And they are going to be the ones that stop Zoom because they know that Barry's not going to go in there clear-headed. He's going to kill himself. He's going to fail again because he's not thinking clearly. So they made the decision they're going to lock him up inside of one of their metahuman containments, and they will stop Zoom by tranking him.
Tranking him,
using the hologram, using all that,
using a hologram, tranking him, and then pushing him back into Earth 2.
Yeah, and they said no matter what, once he is into Earth 2, no matter if somebody gets drug in there with him or not, no matter what happens, you seal that entrance off and never open it again because by that point he cannot get back. There's no way. So the team made the decision that they will seal it off. Well, at the end of the events of them catching Zoom, they did wind up catch Zoom.
And knocking him back into the portal.
And he drug Joe West, Iris's father, Barry's stepfather, Wally's father. And we've all grown up. I love Joe West.
Oh, yeah.
Joe's one of my favorite characters. And I'm usually not big on the secondary type characters, like on Arrow. I'm not, I could care less about Detective and stuff, honestly. But I like Joe.
Yeah.
And he gets pulled into Earth 2. So Barry winds up finding out about this because of Wally, I think.
Wally finds out about it all. He was like, you guys didn't ask me.
Didn't ask Barry.
Didn't ask me, didn't ask Barry. Our opinions on this. And now Wally and Barry are two of the people greatly...
Our father is gone, without our consent. So Wally tells Barry all about it and lets Barry out. And Barry makes a decision that no, we're going back and we're going to get Joe. We're going to use Cisco. We're going to use Vibe to Zoom. He's going to kind of piggyback on his Vibe and agree to race Zoom in exchange for Joe's life and Joe's safety and the safety of his loved ones.
So they get everyone back on Earth 1. The race is starting, and Zoom has him racing on this big circle that's supposed to charge the device to open up the way to the multiverse.
Another thing that we forgot to mention at the beginning of the episode, whenever Barry is chasing Zoom, right after Zoom killed his father, we see a time remnant of Zoom running alongside of him, and his time remnant comes back, and actually whenever Zoom's kind of monologuing to Barry, his time remnant comes back and kills him. And Barry finds out that that's kind of what Zoom does. Sometimes you need one of your time remnants to sacrifice themselves in order for you to complete whatever it is. So while they're running around this generator, getting it charged, it's starting to charge up. You see the portal opening.
You see one of Barry's time remnants. You see
another
flash.
Yeah, another Barry Allen flash.
You can assume it's a time remnant. They go on later to explain.
It was almost right there in the middle of the scene. I think it was Harrison.
Yeah,
it's a time remnant.
Right? Time wraiths?
No, the time wraiths are the...
Don't they come in?
Yeah, that's a little later.
So doing that race, Barry, like the current Barry, is down. He saves Joe, and they're trying to figure out a way to stop the machine. So the Time Remnant is what's currently racing Zoom, right? Or do I have it backwards?
No, I think you have it backwards. I think Barry stayed with
Barry's
Zoom. The Time Remnant is the one that
because he
snapped up
explains
everybody.
that he's a Time Remnant.
And then he starts running at the base of it because it's a giant circle. It looks like a giant I, a giant O, and they're running in the middle of it, like the middle of a donut. And then it's on a base, so the Time Remnant Barry is running completely opposite and intersecting
around the base. Yeah.
Pretty much, he's doing. He's reversing the polarity. He's counteracting
which
it.
is the common solution to everything.
Everything,
Reverse the polarity.
anything comic book or sci-fi.
So they do that, and Zoom is like, he's like, it's too late. I've already won. The machine's already charged.
It's already fully charged. It's starting.
That's when the Time Remnant starts running around.
Yeah, he counteracts it, and then he starts ripping apart, dude. Kind of like how Barry did whenever they tried to
the chick. I can't remember what her name was.
The other speedster.
Yeah.
That little scene reminded me of like the Crisis scenes. You know what I mean? Where like Barry starts to get ripped back apart and shit. Like that was a really cool scene.
Yeah.
Let's try to jump forward. Let's try to speed this up a little bit.
So basically, that happens. It counteracts the machine. It closes the portal like to the multiverse. That the Time Remnant Barry is dead. Zoom still thinks that he can still gain the upper hand here, but Barry beats the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Like slamming him into stuff, beating the hell out of him.
And he starts vibrating his hand, ready to stab him.
And Zoom's like, "You don't have it in you.
You're a hero. You couldn't do it before.
Me.
You can't do it now."
And he's like, "I don't have to." And that's where you see the two time wraiths come down.
And you find out the reason why Barry. One of the reasons why Barry created his Time Remnant was to trigger, to pretty much cause a beacon to the Time Wraiths to come. And he said, and I was just hoping they'd be more pissed off at him than they are me. And that's exactly what happened. They're more pissed off at Zoom because he's created all kinds of fucking mess compared to Barry's one Time Remnant.
Yeah.
So
that happens, everything calms down. Yeah. Zoom's gone. They're all like kind of having a little celebratory, things are calm, things are normal thing at Joe's house.
I think it's Joe's house.
Well, no, because before that they're at Star Labs, because that's when you see them unlock.
No.
The helmet was
okay. Yeah. You're right.
And so we finally find out who the man in the Iron Mask is. Or no, we knew it was Jay Garrick earlier in the episode,
all right? I think what you're thinking of when they're all at Joe's was right after. I think it was like mid-episode. That was mid. I think you might be thinking, unless we're thinking about two different things, you might be thinking about mid-episode where him and Iris are sitting on the porch and he kind of tells her like, "I've got to make sure I'm good first before I can do this." And
that was at the very end.
No, it wasn't, because that one. Remember, Zoom ran right on by and he's like, "Zoom," and then he starts chasing after him. And that's why he catches up with him then. I don't know. But that wasn't at the end, dude. I'm telling you, that was not at the end.
Because she goes back inside and it's like, which is why I'm sorry I have to do this.
Roll the footage.
Oh, let's roll clip. Kidding.
They're sitting on the porch. She's like, "You waited for me. I'll wait for you."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I love you." They kiss, all that. She goes back inside. He's like, "That's why I'm sorry I have to do this." And that's when
you are right. No, he was sitting on the porch with her at an earlier time. Okay. Before that happens, after you find out that the guy in the Iron Mask is Jay Garrick, they wind up going back to Zoom's hideout after they kill Zoom, or after Zoom gets taken away by the Wraiths. To rescue him, to rescue this Jay Garrick. So I like the banter back and forth between Wells and Cisco about using a screwdriver. He said, "Well, you've never worked with a tool before?" He's like, "I'm working with one now."
But they're trying to get this helmet off of him, and it pops, and then they take it off of it, and it goes over to Barry standing in the background.
Before you even see Jay Garrick's face, you hear Wells explaining why Jay didn't have his powers while he had the mask on, because there was a dampener in it that caused him to not have his powers, and which is why he couldn't escape, why he couldn't do anything. And Jay Garrick stands up, turns around, and he looks like Robin Williams whenever he comes back in Jumanji, all fucking burly faced.
Only instead of looking like Robin Williams,
he looks like Barry's dad. He looks like the man who played the Flash in the original '90s. It's the same actor. It's
so amazing.
It's his doppelganger from what we find out is Earth 3.
Yeah.
And what happened was Zoom captured him to to cite his power. Yeah. So Barry fucking gets freaked out, has an emotional fucking breakdown, whatever, goes out into the hallway. Joe comes out, chills him out, and tells him, like, he doesn't even know that he's your father's doppelganger. So, like, I mean, if you want to, you can leave now. Like, we'll tell him that you had to go. And he's like, no, I can do this. Just give me a second. And then the next time you see that doppelganger, he's already cleaned up, fully shaved, in his costume. Yeah. Without the helmet. And you find out that helmet was the one thing that was actually Zolomon's original shit. Everything else he jacked from, whether it was the name, costume, everything, he jacked from Jay Garrick.
And they tell him
that, and they're like, but it was a sign of hope. And he's like, well, maybe it's time for once I take something from him and I use something of his. Throws the helmet on, looks so fucking good. And then, did you notice that whenever he grabs Wells and his daughter, he doesn't, like, you think that super fast fucking speed, there's a lot of whiplash. You would want to grab them around the waist. He grabs them behind the neck and runs. So, like, midway running, he's breaking their necks. And that was pretty much the end of the basic episode. But the very end, whenever, like we were saying, whenever we're sitting there talking to Iris, and he says, I'm sorry I have to do this, and he runs off, he runs so fast
he runs back in
time again, goes back to the death of his mother, where he went before. Where he went before was going to prevent his mother's death. His remnant told him no. You know, pretty much he realized that it had to be that way. Instead of him, by that point, he is that remnant. This is where it gets all wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey.
Love it.
And stops the reverse flash, beats the shit out of him at that, dude. Like, beats the shit out of him, throws him against walls, fucking banging his face against the wall.
Saves his mom.
So
that that other remnant disappears.
He pulls a fucking Marty McFly, dude. Yeah, he legitly fades away and disappears. And if you notice, that was that moment that, like, at the end of season 1, when he popped his head open, the Barry that we were following in this episode, he should have been like, that's when he should have nodded and said no, and that Barry would have, let it all happen. That was the end of season 1.
Yeah.
So he went back and changed that exact moment.
Which
instead of him telling
kind of gives us the opportunity.
Just fades away. So, to me, saving his mother, this is what he did at the end of the Flashpoint storyline, or that's what he did at the Flashpoint storyline that caused the big fuck up. To me, what I think is going to happen, we found out that Supergirl is coming to CW, but she is part of a completely different universe as the CW verse, as the Berlanti verse that we already have. So I think what's going to happen is they are going to. That's how they're going to use this to bring her in and possibly some other things.
All right. Okay. So moving on from whatever the hell they just said, we are going to talk about DC Universe Rebirth because it is also very Geoff Johns related because he's amazing.
I love
this. I didn't take my book out of the package, so I'm sorry about that noise.
I feel like I'm going to let you primarily talk about this since we just went down.
Oh, you
Flash.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll talk with you. And I will give my opinion stuff, but I'm gonna let you do the basic rundown of it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go really too into detail because it's a very word.
Let's just talk about some shit that we really liked in it.
Yeah, that is a clock.
Guys, it's a clock.
That's a goddamn clock, guys. All right. Now it says here at the bottom. It says here at the bottom. It says you have to read Justice League 50 and Superman 52 to read this. It's a little wrong and it's a little right. You don't just need to read Superman 52 because you need to read every single issue that went into Final Days of Superman to get to 52 to get to this. And you don't just need to read Justice League 50, although from what I was given about Justice League 50, it did kind of prep me for this. But you should really read the entire Darkseid War.
Yeah, it is.
So. Yeah, this isn't a book you can just jump into.
You kind of can if you know the outcome of all those, or at least some of the basics.
I think you kind of can. You get a quick snip, read a review at least of those things, and you'll be prepped for this. And also, if you know pre-Final Crisis stories, then you'll also be more than prepped for this. But more or less, we get a lot of monologuing about time and how people have forgotten things.
Is that why there's clocks?
And that is why there's clocks. Actually, no, the person talking is talking about how his father gave him a clock. And
gave him a watch.
Gave him a watch, yes. And eventually it stopped working. And he says, making direct contact like this could kill me, but I have to try, because right now I'm worse than dead. I'm forgotten. And there's a big flash of lightning in the Batcave, and then boom, out pops Wally motherfucking West.
The white, ginger-headed Wally West.
Yes, the original Wally West.
My name is Wally West. I'm the fastest man alive.
Yeah. And I was the Flash at one point, he says. But yeah, so basically, that sets up the theme for this entire story, which is why I went into it a little detail there. Very little detail there. But yeah, basically this entire book is Wally West trying to contact people from the now known universe, the New 52 universe, and trying to get them to remember who he is, what happened. And he even gives you, actually, yeah, you don't really need to know
because he runs it all down.
He does. He talks about his involvement in the Justice League, how he got his superpowers, how he met the Flash.
His involvement in Teen Titans.
Yeah, his involvement in Final Crisis, Infinite Crisis and all that. He talks about Earth 2 and how he created it, basically.
Yeah.
And then he talks about why all these things have been forgotten, and it's not because of the Flashpoint incident changing things. It's because someone stole it.
Yeah, and somebody infected.
Yeah, there's someone more powerful than even Darkseid, is what's said in this book, that has taken 10 years out of this world.
It's Geoff Johns.
It's Geoff Johns. It's Geoff Johns. Again, we don't know who this is, and if there's any character that could be Geoff Johns, it's this character. So it's Geoff Johns.
I feel like these are those entities in the Marvel DC crossover back in like, that's who it is.
You know what? Or like the Lego movie where it turns out it was a little kid effect. Yeah, like I'm wondering if this whole storyline, this whole Rebirth storyline, turns out to reveal them.
Because the way they kind of talk about it was like, it was almost a stab right at like. At New 52 and at the fans being shitty about. I mean, it's
I would not be surprised if this plays out to the entire like superhero universe realizing that they are a comic book. And
are you sure this is Geoff Johns and not Grant Morrison? I got it. Yeah, pretty sure.
But yeah, he's trying to contact one of the aging members of the Justice Society because they're connected somehow. He's trying to contact, I don't even know who this is, but she's one of the women from the League of Superheroes.
I don't know. Well, I saw Blonde.
The Legion of Superheroes.
I saw Blonde, and the first thing I thought of was Power Girl, but it's not Power Girl.
It turns out, another key player in this is the Atom, who has shrunken himself down to something that he can only describe as the microverse. And he's telling him, he's like, look, tell these people I love them, blah, 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 but I also made a suit for you, a belt that does exactly what mine does.
It'll home in on me. You'll come to my microscopic level.
Yes.
It'll home straight to me.
And then there'll be these people who are going to be waiting for you, and no matter what they do, no matter what they say, do not, and then it cuts off. We don't know what he was going to say.
He's like, what do you mean? Do not, what do I not do?
We get a little thing involving the Blue Beetle here.
Actually, both the Blue Beetles.
Yeah, both Blue Beetles, the original and the new one, and the original is trying to get him to be the Blue Beetle. The new one is trying to tell him, hey, look, you were supposed to help me get rid of this thing. If you don't want to do that, that's cool, but that's why I'm here. I'm not here to be a superhero. And then Dr. Fate shows up and talks to the original Blue Beetle and says, look, you're not dealing with science. You're dealing with magic. And Cord's like, magic?
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute now. And then we get some images of the new heroes that the Kid Flash, Wally West, has been talking about this whole time. The new Green Lantern, I can't remember who she is.
Her name is Jessica something. I can't remember. Her name is Power Ring.
Yeah, we see Damian Wayne celebrating his 13th birthday. Something about...
Jackson. This is Jackson. Is this Aqualad by any chance?
I'm thinking this is Aqualad.
Because the way they kind of talk
Apparently
about
he's
it
gay.
and like him swimming and everything, like it.
Yeah, apparently he's gay. I don't know anything about Aqualad right
Yeah,
now.
me either.
But and then we see Pandora, who actually had a pretty big story arc in the New 52.
Yeah, it was Trinity War.
Yeah, Trinity War, and she's talking about how what the hell is it? I just read this like half an hour before coming over here too.
I don't know. I didn't really
She's
get
talking about the evils she's unleashed. It may be over for me, but they will prove you wrong. They will prove that you are nothing but lonely, cruel. And before she can finish monsters, she seems to explode in a blue light, which we'll get to. We'll get to this blue light. And then that's the end of chapter 2. Yeah, there are 4 chapters here, by the way. Then we get a little bit of something about Diana's twin brother, which you can find out about from the Dark Side War.
Dark Side War, but I think it also took place in one of the Wonder Woman story arcs.
I'm not sure. I wouldn't know about that one, but I do know it has something to do with Dark Side War. Then we get a flash of the scene where Superman died, all these heroes standing around, and he says he thinks it's Superman, but he can't exactly see who it is, because we're seeing this all from the perspective of
I like
Wally
that part
West.
right there.
Yeah,
They
and then
talk
he
about
starts
Ollie.
talking about how not only has 10 years been lost, but also love. And he starts talking about Green Lantern, or Green Arrow and Black Canary, and how they see each other and they know there's a connection, but they barely know each other.
But they don't even know each other.
Yeah, and it keeps them up at night, bothering them about what's missing. Then we get to see a little bit of Clark and Lois from the other universe.
That's the scene you were discussing earlier about where they're talking about his death with Doomsday in their world.
We see new love being formed between Aquaman and Mera, and Aquaman proposing to her. And then we finally get to the one person Wally West has been looking for this entire time, his ex-girlfriend Linda, from before all of this happened, before the Flashpoint paradox.
Because he keeps referring to her as his lightning rod. She can always, no matter where he's at in the Speed Force and whatever universes,
he's been in this situation before.
She's the only one that is able. Her love for him and their connection is the only thing that's able to pull him back.
Yeah, and so he gets to her and he's like, Linda, oh my God, I found you. And he's trying to say, take my hand and I can come home. And she's hesitant because she doesn't know who he is.
I don't know you.
And he's like, but it starts with us, Linda, you and me forever. And she's like, I don't know you. And he gets sucked back into the Speed Force. He's like, God, please let her remember, before he's sucked right back in. He starts losing hope, and we start seeing these flashes of some stuff that we can expect post Rebirth. 2 new characters. I don't know.
They're the same ones that's on the cover of Batman issue 1.
Yeah,
Rebirth issue 1.
They haven't been revealed yet.
No, not that I know
of.
This is probably the most explanation I've got for them in this issue.
And then we see Constantine talking to Swamp Thing about something, and it turns out Swamp Thing wants him to bring back Abby, Abby Arcane.
Yeah.
And he's like, can't do it. And he's like, well, that's my price. Because I guess Constantine wants his help with something. And he's like, you always were a bloody pain in the ass.
You bloody turnip.
And so the Flash is getting nowhere with reaching out to Captain Boomerang, reaching out to Cyborg. He's reaching out to Dick Grayson.
Who is pulling a Nightwing costume out with the blue?
Yeah.
I can't wait for that.
He is so sure that he's screwed until he sees
Was it his cousin?
his cousin previously, but in this world the only Wally West. And he sees him dealing with these situations where he's starting to become the new Kid Flash. And he watches him save someone from a car, and then get really excited, and he yells up, he jumps up in the air, he's like, awesome! And he's so happy to be the Flash. And then he sees Barry Allen, the Flash. He sees him saving these children, smile on his face the whole time, doing what he does, taking a moment to stop and talk.
I love how he's actually mentioned that, I think, twice in this book, that like Barry will stop, because he moves so fast, he can stop and just take a second and just see if each one of these people that he saved is okay. Because He even goes and gets pizza for them all.
Because he finds out that one of the kids is hungry, so he's like, pizza.
And then tips the restaurant by completely renovating the kitchen.
Yeah. And then Wally West acknowledges that he seems happy, and he's like, that's enough for me. So long as he's doing his job and he's happy, I can die at peace. And he's about ready to give up, but he feels like he has to say something to Barry.
He has to thank him.
Yeah. So he gives Barry this like smallest thing about like what's going on and what Barry needs to do. He needs to contact Bruce and tell him about the letter and everything from the Flashpoint paradox.
Yeah.
And then he just starts going off like, "Thank you for being an inspiration."
He explains to him how appreciative he is, and like if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't be where he's at.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be the man that he is.
And just before he's about to die, he says, "Thank you for an amazing life." When Barry reaches in, grabs him, and pulls him into the living world,
because
like,
he all of a sudden remembers him. That's what.
Yeah, that's right. He's squinty-eyed. He's like trying to figure out, and then all of a sudden he's wide-eyed.
Extremely wide-eyed.
Wally?
And you see him grab his hand, and it's already like tearing apart.
It's such a good. I'm getting goosebumps
Odle.
Again.
What we're talking about with the Flash and the Time Remnant. Like, doesn't it look like the same exactly?
He pulls him in, and he's like, "Oh my God, I'm back!" And Flash starts breaking down, crying. He's like, "I'm so sorry, Barry. Wally. How could I forget? My God." And they hug.
And then they kiss.
It's such a good fucking page where they're
I
hugging.
started to tear up, dude. Like, just look at those panels right below
like
where
I
they're
said,
hugging.
I'm getting goosebumps. Look at it. I'm getting goosebumps again reading this, and I love it so much.
And then when Flash remembers, when Barry remembers, and he sees, I remember it now, and it shows the panels from like
from
whenever
him
he got
getting
his powers, and when he joined the Teen Titans, and
and then they start talking about
what happened with Flashpoint.
Yeah, what happened with Flashpoint, and he was like, I don't think it.
Yeah, he said he was trying to tell Barry, because Barry's very sure that what's going on isn't my fault from him. With the Flashpoint,
exactly.
He's like, it wasn't your fault, Barry. It was something else or someone else.
Geoff Johns.
Geoff Johns.
And he says, whoever they are, they did this for a reason.
And they took years from us to weaken us. Like the years they took it by taking away the memories of everything pre-Flashpoint was to weaken them down.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is them being like, oh, you guys took away the history of all of our favorite characters. You made our stories weak. Like that's kind of what it felt like to me a little bit.
And on the last 2 pages, Batman is looking at the letter from his father, Thomas Wayne, from the alternate universe, Earth 2. And in the boxes, we have Wally West saying there's going to be a war between hope and despair, love and apathy, faith and disbelief. When I was outside of time, I felt their presence. I tried to see who it was, but I couldn't. But I know that they're out there, and they're waiting to attack again for some reason. While this is going on, Batman is digging something out of the wall.
Yeah, he notices something.
He notices a little
glistening.
gleam.
Yeah.
And he goes to dig it out of the wall. And then Wally continues to say, "I can feel it. Even now, Barry. We're being watched." And that last page is just a full page of Batman pulling a smiley face pin with a blood stain out of the wall.
The comedian's pin.
If you don't know, that is from The Watchmen,
God.
which is amazing because those have been 2 separate universes this entire time. And we're getting everything. This is giving us back pre-Final Crisis characters.
And they're adding in characters in a story that fucking anybody that's ever read it loves.
Which, to bring you back, there
to
was
the
a blue light
exactly.
that killed Pandora, and she exploded just like Rorschach.
She
explodes just like Rorschach.
I was thinking about all the Vietnamese people in that one scene.
And then there's an epilogue. We see the Earth from far away. Then we see a little shot of Mars past the moon. Then we see Mars. Then the planet's surface and a little bit of a spark behind a rock. And it turns out to be
Wally's watch.
Wally West's watch that he was talking about. And it's floating up into the air, being pulled apart.
Disassembled.
Fixed. And then
because
put
there's
back
one
together.
gear that is missing a tooth. And you notice matter starts coming together and building a tooth up. And then it reassembles and starts working again. And
then there is a white text box that says, "I did the right thing, didn't I?" Another text box, a white text box that says, "It all worked out in the end." Then we see a blue text box that says, "In the end, ? Nothing ends, Adrian. Nothing ever ends." And that's it. The clock is ticking across the DC universe. And Rebirth has become, like, the next chapter in my Bible. Like, oh, wow.
And honestly, I'm surprised if there's people pissed off that Watchmen are now in DC Universe.
Yeah, like,
I mean, there's not a whole hell of a lot, but like,
why
not utilize some of our, like, I love that fucking story.
Yeah.
Like, and I honestly I didn't really know much about it until you turned me on to it years ago.
Yeah.
Right after the movie came out. And after watching the movie, read the comic, watched the motion
Oh
comic.
my god, I was reading that comic book religiously, and then the movie is so like on point. They changed one thing in the movie.
Yeah.
One thing, obviously.
And they they left some stuff out.
Yeah.
But they added only
inconsequential.
Yeah. Yes. It really was.
But the one thing in the movie, if you haven't read the comic but you've seen the movie, again, spoilers here. In the movie, they blame the destruction of these major cities on Dr. Manhattan. Yeah. Which, personally, I think makes a load more sense than what they did in the comic, which was random monster from another dimension that they only really talk about at the very end of the book.
It feels like a shoehorned ending.
Yeah, exactly. And Alan Moore's pissed about this. Dude, just take the bullet. Yours didn't make sense, theirs did.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah. They get the chance to merge these two universes somehow. We don't even know how exactly yet. Maybe this was always supposed to be a part of the universe, but something happened. Like the Flashpoint.
And who were they talking about that infected the whole Flashpoint?
Yeah,
like who is?
I don't think
are we talking about? Are
we
talking about Dr. Manhattan?
Yeah,
because they've never came out. They've never came out and like Geoff Johns came out and said that Dr. Manhattan is not going to be a villain. He's not a villain.
Dr. Manhattan.
But Dr. Manhattan has always kind of been.
Dr. Manhattan left Earth to go create life elsewhere.
Yeah.
Is the DC universe the life he went to go create?
Oh my god, dude. You just blew my fucking skull.
What the fuck? Oh, man. I just blew my own fucking skull. Oh, shit.
You just masturbatory blew your own mind.
Like, I may be reading more Marvel than I am DC right now, but DC is where I'm at. Dude, like, after this book, I am locked in.
I honestly couldn't be more happier with this fucking book. I honestly couldn't.
Oh, it's so good. And
it's $2.99. What was it? 80 page, dude?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't beat it.
They did good. If you love comic books, you love comic book stories, you're familiar enough with the characters. Yeah, get yourself up to date on Darkseid War, Final Days of Superman, and then read Rebirth because it is worth it. All three of these stories are just great.
I have a good friend who, I mean, he kind of just reads comics here and there, doesn't even really keep up with storylines. He just jumped straight into Rebirth #1. Loved it.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, I just noticed that you have the other cover.
Yeah, I have the variant.
Yeah, nice.
I have both.
Other one. Fuck me.
I was going to get both, but I honestly... I don't need to have variants. I pick whatever cover I like better, and if it's a variant, I'll take that.
I wish there was a blank cover, because I would have the scene that's on mine, but like a little farther out, and have it actually be Geoff Johns.
Geoff Johns' hand. I didn't notice.
There's that hand. Yeah.
I didn't notice the was it the Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo?
Oh yeah,
Michelangelo. Yeah.
But yeah, instead of it just being the hand, I would have fucking a naked buff Geoff Johns
with his Green Lantern ball cap on.
Green Lantern ball cap,
or Aquaman or whatever.
But yeah, guys, DC Rebirth. Last thing, guys. We
gotta talk about this giveaway real quick.
Yeah, give me the giveaway. I was right over top of the mic. I'm sorry if the volume just spiked. Because I just got right over top of the mic.
I don't know if you can read my handwriting there.
I don't know if you guys have been tuning in to the live streams we've been doing, or you should have heard a little bit of it on last week's podcast.
Last podcast.
We're getting ready to start a giveaway, and when this releases on the 1st, you can stay tuned to our Facebook pages to hear all of the details. But Vincent,
what we've got going on here is, like we said on the last podcast, like we've said in some of our live shows, we're trying to go over and bring this podcast and any other media stuff we do through the Sorta My Brand YouTube channel over to the Sorta My Brand Facebook page. And refocus the Sorta My Comics page back on simply nerd news and nerd pictures and stuff like that. Because it's getting a little cluttered.
Yeah.
So, as an incentive to get people over to that new one, we're going to do a giveaway. We're going to release an official announcement post on the Sorta My Comics Facebook page, which you should like also, if you're not already on there. Otherwise, how the hell did you find out about this?
Really?
Anyways, the grand prize, you are going to get some of our best work, the stuff that we can bring to the table. Odle here makes awesome bead creations.
Perler beads.
And he's just recently started doing fridge magnets, which are really taking off. Like, they've been doing really well, haven't they?
Yeah.
And basically, you're going to get one of those sets of your choice. It's not just going to be any random thing or something he's got laying around. You'll get to choose if you want them to be Batman themed, if you want them to be Pokemon themed, Nintendo themed, any nerd thing that you want. If you want them to look like tits, you're set. You're golden.
He already has 4 sets.
He already has 4
Ready to
sets
go.
set aside, ready to go.
Ready to ship out
Tell them
those
about
sets.
where they can find your perler beads so they can get an idea.
I have an Etsy shop. It's under the name Alpha Spectre. You can find me on the Sorta My Comics page right now.
Yep.
Instagram, Alpha Spectre 87.
And I'll be adding everyone to the Sort of My Brand page this weekend.
Shameless pluggings all over the place.
Yeah. And on top of that, you're also going to get a tile coaster set, handmade by Mr. Boba Fett over here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's made a few of these for us already. He makes these out of actual comic book pages. They look fucking great. They were so awesome. They were so awesome that I thought he had actually taken the set that we had in our shop, Sorta My Comics, and given them to Odle. And they were sitting there at Odle's place, and I was like, I need a coaster set. So I messaged them, and I was like, can I have those coasters? Because they were the only ones I didn't want to go to the store and buy regular coasters. I wanted those coasters.
No,
But they were-
regular coasters.
Yeah.
But you can get
Cool,
super
nerdy
awesome
ones.
coasters.
But they were a birthday present for Odle, so I backed off that. But you're gonna get one of those again. We have so much material available to us, and the ability to find material that you will get to choose this set. You will get to choose what comic book characters you want them on. Marvel, DC, Image, doesn't matter. We can figure it out, and he will make that for you. Bob, is there? You don't do these commercially anymore, do you?
No, I started up an Instagram page. I only posted a few pictures of him on there, and then I just kind of didn't really want to have to deal with a whole nother
this
whole
isn't
nother
exactly a living thing that he does
No, it's
either.
just
So
something I did a lot of it for your shop.
Yeah.
I did a lot of it for we did a comic themed bathroom, so I did a lot of cabinets, doors, and like mirror borders and stuff with all the panels and such.
So
But-
you are getting something pretty exclusive here.
Oh
This
yeah,
isn't
it's
something
one
you
of it.
can-
It's something that's
yeah.
one of kind, that's handcrafted, that's made.
This
That's
isn't
like
something
there'll
you
never
can
be
go out
two
to
of
Hobby
it
Lobby
again.
and pick up.
No.
This isn't something that you can go to your local comic shop and grab, or even go online and get. This is just for you.
And another thing that is going to be in this the grand prize pack that I also created is it was a piece that we actually had in the shop, and it's a I don't remember exactly what size it is. It's a small picture frame.
Yeah, I think it's a 5x7.
Yeah, I think it's smaller than that.
Really?
It's pretty small. It's a fairly small one. But it's 90s Jim Lee X-Men themed, and it's also done the same way I do the coasters, which is I use actual comic panels. And before anybody starts freaking out, I use coverless or tore up comics that you'd find in a free pile or maybe even a 10-cent pile or something.
Yeah.
So it's not like I pulled a Hulk 181 or something. Yeah, but that's another little one of a kind item that'll be in that.
And then another thing that Bob's kicking in. Bob's really ramping this thing up.
The ring.
Is the Green Lantern.
Yeah, it's not the classic ones that you used to get in the comic shops and such. It's granted, it's probably not real silver or anything. It was a fairly cheapo one, but it's a decent little metal one, and the jewel in the middle is a little green, obviously fake jewel, but it's pretty sweet.
Pretty cool little thing there. And then the last two things you're going to get in there are the only things that I can really put in because I don't have any marketable skills outside of telling people what to do. I can organize and tell people what to do.
He can make good tacos.
Supervise.
Yeah. And I can't even do that very well because they took 15 minutes out of the 5 I gave them. So.
It's okay. It's still delicious.
It's a flash, you really
I'm
can
sure it came out
short
great. But my brother, however, does do these awesome art prints. He does all sorts of crossover stuff. Recently doing Bruce Campbell as Deadpool. He also did an Ash meets Ash from the Evil Dead meets Game of Thrones.
When
He does another Pool Boys print. There's so much great stuff. You can find all examples of his type of work on the Simple Interesting Visions page on Facebook. From there, you can find his Etsy shop. But we are going to add an exclusive 8x10 print, signed or unsigned, your choice, from Travis, as another little thank you for liking our page. And the last
no, you actually you forgot.
Yeah. Oh, I almost did forget that. We are also, because there are 4 of us, we are all going to pull a suggested by us comic book, whatever we think you should be reading, and we're going to include 4 suggested titles into the grand prize. So you're going to get 4 comic books hand selected by us.
And you know they're going to be good because, we're awesome. We like awesome
shit. Hey, if you heard what we're talking about tonight, you know what? DC Universe Rebirth should be in there. It's in abundance. We can find it. It's cheap.
Actually, it's not. Inner Geek sold out.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
do you think they can order another?
No, I think they're sold out. Yeah. It's
one of us might have to make a sacrifice, and Odle's got both covers. So the rest of us only have one.
And then
and the last thing you're going to get in the grand prize is a guest spot right here on the podcast. You're going to get to join us for what we'll tell you will be about an hour and a half. It'll turn into 3.
If you're local, you can actually join us in person right here. Hell, even have a beer.
Yeah.
But if you are out of the area, all you need is Skype and a decent webcam, and just please not a lot of background noise.
Yeah, we will
try to dedicate a couple hours to.
We will get you in, and you'll get to bitch about comics and movies, or actually, rather, we geek out more than anything. We talk about a lot.
Or if you just want to get on, if you want to get on here and bitch about how much you hate us,
yeah,
you only want to win, so you can tell us to our face how much you hate us. I don't even care.
Now,
I'll still drink a beer with you.
There's not only going to be one winner here. There's going to be a runner-up, and it's significantly smaller of a prize, but. We still want to pass at least 2 little packages. The runner-up is also going to get a spot on the podcast. We can schedule you for the same day as the grand prize winner, or you can come in on a different episode. It's completely up to you. But we can also do 2 comics selected by us. We're going to throw in 2 comic books, send them off to you, all at our expense, of course. And again, these are going to be handpicked. Now, since it's 2,
expense. Let's just say Odle pays for it all.
Since it's only 2 comics, we're going to team up on these, and 2 of us will decide on one, and the other 2 will decide on the other, and then we're going to pop those in there.
And honestly, you never know. By the time the contest is over, we might have thrown in a couple mystery prizes in these.
Who knows? This might get updated as we go along because we are going to be running this for the entire month of June.
Yeah.
You have an entire month to get in on this, and all you have to do, and there will be more detail on how these entries work in the post that you can find tomorrow on the Facebook page, which should be June 2nd. So basically, the way you get involved is you can like that status with all the details. You can comment, letting us know what you like about the podcast, what you don't like, what you like about the Facebook page, what you don't like. We love the criticism. That'll get you a few entries. You can like the Sorta My Brand Facebook page. That'll get you even more entries because that's the goal. You can comment a friend's name and link them to the Facebook page. You can do all sorts of different things, which I'm forgetting now because shirts are coming up all across the board. I can't even think about it. But yeah, liking, commenting, subscribing on YouTube. Entries. Yeah, subscribing on YouTube, on SoundCloud. There are going to be a ton of ways to get entries. We're going to be keeping track of it all. Just watch for that Facebook post on Sorta My Comics Facebook page. That is where all your details are going to be to get involved in this, and we're really excited about it, guys. We want you over on the brand, but we also want to say thank you for listening to us for way too long.
Really?
Yeah, really. Let's close this up.
Let's just find another way to 9 minutes.
Real quick, I know you have something to say. Right before we get out of here.
Guys, we want to go ahead and not thank our unofficial anti-sponsor of Sorta My Podcast, the ever shitty, ever annoying, ever frustrating internet service from Frontier Communications. These bastards will overcharge you, even though it's in their policy to tell you about any charges, and then lie to you about it. But when you get frustrated about that, fear not, because they will hang up. Every time. Because they're just not going to deal with that shit. Because they don't need it.
They ain't got time.
They ain't got time for that.
Nobody got time for that.
Well,
I suffer their poor quality. You shouldn't.
Fuck Frontier.
And
hashtag fuck Frontier.
no, we've got.
Gotta get you a couple entries.
Tell them where they can find us.
Oh shit! Still have that.
Go ahead.
Guys,
All right, well, I'll start with it. They can find us at the Sorta My Comics and Sorta My Brand.
Sorta My Brand.
Push more for Sorta My Brand, but if
That's
you
where
don't like,
all the live shows are gonna happen.
that's where you're going to find out about all the good shit. But if you're not a fan of Sorta My Comics, go ahead like that as well. You can also find us on Instagram under Sorta My Podcast.
At Sorta My Podcast. Twitter at Sorta My Podcast. Yeah.
And we also have Periscope, which we haven't used for a while, which is also Sorta My
I don't know
Podcast.
if we ever will.
I don't think we need to now that Facebook has a live
Podcast.
stream.
You can find us on SoundCloud, Google Music.
We're on Google Play Music and we're on iTunes.
We're on
we
iTunes.
We are across the board.
We're official.
You can find the YouTube page, Sorta My Brand YouTube page. Once I get my internet situation figured out, Frontier, we're going to be doing the YouTube page regularly. But you can listen to the first episode there. Anyways, you can find all of us on Instagram and Twitter.
Hey, also, if you use hashtag fuck Frontier, you get 2 extra entries.
Oh my god, yes.
Because they're double. They suck twice as much as
You know what? Yeah.
providers.
If you
So, 2
hashtag
entries.
fuck Frontier in the comments, that is an automatic. In the comments
I said
of
2 entries.
anything of ours.
Yes.
But it has to be our direct post or else we
Yeah.
can't keep up with it. If it's hashtag fuck Frontier, I'm saying it right now, 5 entries.
Ooh, 5.
5
Woo!
entries for hashtag fuck Frontier.
5 times the fun, guys.
So, yeah, actually I decided this. That's as many entries as you can get for liking the Sorta My Brand Facebook page, too. So, if you like the Sorta My Brand Facebook page, hashtag fuck Frontier, that's 10 entries right there. So, yeah, do it!
Dang.
Do it.
Do
Now.
it and fuck Frontier. But not really, though.
Now.
Not literally.
Now, Chelsea.
Cue badass outro here.